Chapter 46. There was no suspense in the next 3 matches. Hao Lion Wuxia, the second and third ranked disciples, all finished their matches within a minute, and the top 40 were determined. The boring matches with great disparity in strength were finally over. The referee did not waste any time. After quickly drawing lots, the matches began. Finally, when the sky was about to turn dark, the 5 rounds of elimination matches, 10 arenas, and 10 groups ended one after another. Chen Hao was worried that he would meet Hao Lion Wuxia too early. The situation did not happen, and he successfully advanced to the top 5. The disciple in second place, who had just become a grade 6 martial master, was unlucky enough to meet Hao Lion Wuxia in the top 5, and was eliminated without any suspense. It was also that battle that finally allowed Chen Hao to see how powerful Hao Lion Wuxia was. A grade 6 martial master could not even last 3 moves against Hao Lion Wuxia. Moreover, Chen Hao was clear that if Hao Lion Wuxia wanted to, she could defeat her opponent in 1 move. After a day of competition, only Xiao Jihan and Chen Hao were left of the Xiao clan's 10 disciples. Tomorrow was the round-robin match for the top 5. After joining up with the Xiao clan's disciples, Chen Hao walked towards the Xiao clan's encampment amidst the congratulations of Xiao Jishan, Lil Ling, and some other Xiao clan disciples. Junior brother. Don't think so much. Hao Lion Wuxia is indeed not someone you can fight against. A grade 8 martial master is too strong. Your current results have already shaken the entire Cloud State City. Don't force yourself. No matter what, second place in the group shouldn't be a problem for you. After all, you've only been cultivating for half a year. Xiao Mei looked at Chen Hao, who seemed to be deep in thought, and could not help but comfort him. Hearing Xiao Mei's words, Chen Hao's brows relaxed. He grinned and said, "Senior sister, you're thinking too much." "I'm thinking too much?" Hao Lion Wuxia is indeed very strong. However, I feel that her fan club is even stronger. With my current cultivation, I have no chance of winning. Even if I lose, it would be normal. What fan club? Xiao Mei was a little surprised. Ever since she came into contact with Chen Hao, she had heard several new terms. A fan club is also a group of supporters and admirers. Didn't you see how crazy the audience was every time she went on stage today? Let's not talk about this anymore. No matter if I win or lose, I will do my best to fight. As Chen Hao said this, he suddenly seemed to be talking to himself. Sigh, if only there were some more high-grade elixirs. Xiao Mei was surprised. Junior brother, you couldn't have comprehended the barrier again? It seems so. It's a pity that I haven't tempered my origin power enough. Otherwise, I think I would be able to quickly step into the 4th grade of martial master. So, don't say that I'm hiding it from you. It was only when I started fighting with Mo Yuxiang that I suddenly realized it. Chen Hao seemed to have intentionally raised his voice a little. This caused the ears of Xiao Ding and the rest, who were walking in front, to tremble, especially Xiao Jihan. When Chen Hao saw the subtle changes in the crowd, his eyes flashed with joy. This time, he wasn't talking to Xiao Jihan, but to Xiao Ding. As Chen Hao had said, Hao Lian Wuxia basically had no chance of winning against him now. A grade 8 martial master was much stronger than Xiao Jihan. Moreover, although no one had forced Hao Lian Wu to use her true strength in today's battle, Chen Hao's sharp intuition had sensed that there seemed to be a familiar energy on Hao Lian Wu's body. This feeling was very strange, but it was real. As for what kind of energy it was, Chen Hao wasn't sure. He would probably only know after he had fought and forced Hao Lian Wuxia to use it. At night, a full moon hung in the sky. The clear and cold moonlight sprinkled down on the bustling Cloud State City. All the taverns, tea houses, brothels, and other places were packed with people. Everyone was talking about today's competition with great interest. Without a doubt, Hao Lian Wuxia, Hao Lian Yiqing, Xiao Xianghao, and Xiao Jihan were the names that appeared the most frequently. After Chen Hao finished his meal, he went straight to his room. He sat cross-legged on his bed, and the faint moonlight poured through the window onto his delicate and handsome face. However, he wasn't cultivating. His black eyes emitted a faint glow under the moonlight. His brows were slightly furrowed and he seemed to be deep in thought, as if he was waiting for something. Dong dong dong. Soft knocks on the door were finally heard, just as Chen Hao had expected. A smile appeared on his face as he stood up and opened the door. Senior sister? Is there anything? Xiao Mei's face flashed with excitement and joy. She didn't answer Chen Hao and instead walked into the room. After closing the door, she smiled mysteriously and whispered, "Guess what I brought you?" "A what?" Chen Hao seemed to be very surprised. "Hee. Spiritual medicine. 10 grade 5 medicinal pills, and 3 grade 6 medicinal pills." Although Xiao Mei wanted to whet Chen Hao's appetite, time was of the essence, and she said it directly. "Ah, it can't be." This time, Chen Hao was really surprised. When he came back, he intentionally said it out loud for Xiao Ding to hear. He believed that since Xiao Ding and old Xiao had chosen him, they would spare no expense to nurture him. And now he needed it. There was no need to pretend to be virtuous. He believed that he would be able to repay this kindness 1,000 times in the future. But he didn't expect Xiao Ding to give him so much. 10 grade 5 medicinal pills were refined with 10 grade 5 spiritual medicine. 3 grade 6 medicinal pills were refined with 3 grade 6 spiritual medicine. Chen Hao had never seen a grade 5 medicinal pill before, not to mention grade 6 medicinal pills. Moreover, there were 3 of them. One had to know that the reward for the first inner disciple before the age of 20 was a grade 6 spiritual medicine, red refining fruit. Chen Hao couldn't help but be surprised. Patriarch said that as long as you need it, just say the word. He will spare no expense to help you improve. When you need it, just let me know. Xiang Hao. Although Patriarch didn't say, senior sister feels that I should tell you. What? These spiritual medicine are extremely precious to any family. These are Patriarch's savings for breaking through to Martial Emperor. Do you understand what senior sister means? I understand. Chen Hao nodded and said in a deep voice. Go to the cultivation room and cultivate. Senior sister will protect you, Xiao Mei said as she nudged Chen Hao. Okay. Chen Hao didn't say anything else, and walked directly to the cultivation room. After sitting cross-legged on the mat in the middle of the cultivation room, Chen Hao carefully opened the jade bottle containing the grade 5 spiritual medicine. In his eyes, these were no longer spiritual medicine. They were old Xiao and Xiao Ding's hopes. This made Chen Hao feel a little guilty. Although he had never thought of taking it for free, his relationship with the Xiao family was still based on mutual benefits. What the Xiao family valued was his potential and future. Their current investments and good karma were all based on future returns. It was also because of this that Chen Hao intentionally said that he needed spiritual medicine. You give me the present and I give you the future. It was a matter of course. But now, Xiao Ding's generous investment made Chen Hao understand that this was beyond the scope of benefits. Taking a deep breath, Chen Hao's mind was filled with the uncontrollable excitement of seeing spiritual medicine. He had originally wanted to take out a grade 5 spiritual medicine, but he couldn't help but take out 3 and swallow them. Boom boom boom. The strength of a level 5 medicinal pill was revealed the moment it was swallowed into his dantian. Although refining the medicinal pill would remove most of the violent elements of the spiritual medicine, Chen Hao was only a martial master. A level 5 spiritual medicine would have a strong effect even on a martial monarch, not to mention a martial master. Moreover, Chen Hao had swallowed 3 spiritual medicine at once. Almost in an instant, violent and pure energy was released from the 3 spiritual medicine. Even with Chen Hao's strong physical body, he still felt a heart-wrenching pain, as if his dantian was about to explode. Luckily, after experiencing the terrifying pain of soul fusion, Chen Hao's endurance was relatively high. Without any hesitation, in an instant, he activated the secret of longevity and began to refine his spiritual medicine. Bearing the intense pain of his physical body that was about to explode, he focused all his attention on refining the spiritual medicine. P.S. First update. All the brothers and sisters who support Aotion, please help me log into Qidian and click on the next chapter. Those who are still reading, please vote for Wuxian please. Today's third update will explode. The second update should be at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Also, thanks to Chuan Liang Wuzi, Passionate Love Carrot, Chi Momo, Windflower Snow Moon Clear, Mo Qing Yi Weasel 22, Dancing with the Wind Purple, Xiao Tian Bai, fish that can't really swim. Feng Bi for their support. Thank you. Chapter 47. Using elemental energy to refine the body and awaken the body's potential is to refine all the cells and meridians in the body except for the brain. Once the refinement is completed, one can reach the martial emperor realm. As the violent energy from the 3 level 5 elixirs was refined, the pain that felt like his body was about to explode gradually disappeared from Chen Hao's body. At this moment, Chen Hao felt the subtle circulation of the majestic elemental energy in his body, and a trace of understanding appeared in his mind. Senior Mei's intent is to refine one's will and produce mental strength. Compared to elemental energy, mental strength is completely under the precise control of the intent and can be refined down to the smallest detail. The brain is the most mysterious and delicate part of the human body. Perhaps only under complete control of mental strength can one refine the cells in the brain and awaken the brain's potential. The reason why intent is so rare is because it requires the cultivator to be born with a certain amount of mental strength. Otherwise, it is impossible to take the first step of refinement. As for martial artists, although they are unable to use the violent elemental energy to refine the brain, after becoming a martial emperor, the meridians that run through the human brain are already connected. Through the circulation of the elemental energy in the meridians, it can naturally nourish the brain continuously until the condition to become intent is met. Then, one can begin to refine the brain. But why doesn't intent cultivate elemental energy to refine the body? Thinking of this, Chen Hao, who was still refining the elixirs, the figure of Cloud State City's governor, Li Ran, appeared in his mind. Chen Hao's senses were several times, or even dozens of times sharper than ordinary people. He could be sure that the intent Emperor Li Ran had already begun to refine his body. However, the feeling he gave was completely different from a martial artist's body. This made Chen Hao a little puzzled. He could only temporarily put aside the doubts in his heart, and once again devote himself to refining the elixirs. Vigorous and pure elemental energy flowed through the meridians of the 4th level of the long life secret, continuously refining and nourishing the meridians and the surrounding cells. Buzz! Finally, just as the 3 level 5 medicinal pills were about to be exhausted, a rumbling sound came from his dantian. Chen Hao could clearly feel that his body was vibrating at a high frequency. It was also at this moment that the pure essence energy that was flowing along his meridians suddenly increased in speed by several times. The surging and vigorous origin energy was like enormous waves that crashed against the shore, and wave after wave crashed against the barrier that Chen Hao had already comprehended. Boom! A series of explosions rang out as Chen Hao's vigorous essence force circulated crazily, causing the air in the entire cultivation room to explode and rumble unceasingly. He broke through just like that. Sitting cross-legged on Chen Hao's bed, Xiao Mei, who had stayed behind to protect Chen Hao, was suddenly awakened by the huge commotion coming from the cultivation room. Her charming eyes opened in surprise as she muttered in disbelief. Xiao Mei did not know that at this moment, on a towering tree a few meters away from Chen Hao's room, a figure let out a soft sigh of relief and muttered to himself. It seems that the old ancestor is wise. This kid is really too abnormal. What a pity, what a pity. If the Yinzhou martial meet could be delayed for a month, even defeating Hao Lian and Wu Zi would not be impossible. This figure was Xiao Ding. Sparing no effort to help Chen Hao cultivate was what old man Xiao had instructed him to do. However, in the cultivation world, spiritual herbs were in short supply. Not to mention level 5 or level 6 spiritual herbs. Even level 3 or 4 spiritual herbs were difficult to buy in the trading market. After all, this was a world of martial artists. There were as many cultivators as there were hairs on a cow. If the spiritual herbs picked could not even satisfy one's own needs, who would sell them? 3 level 6 medicinal pills and 10 level 5 medicinal pills were all Xiao Ding's reserves for breaking through to martial emperor. Old man Xiao said it was easy, but Xiao Ding's heart ached. Giving them to Chen Hao meant that the time needed for him to break through to martial emperor would be extended. However, now that he sensed Chen Hao's breakthrough, Xiao Ding suddenly felt that old man Xiao was right, and that it was worth it. Just as Xiao Ding was about to leave, he was suddenly startled. He looked at a place 100 meters away from Chen Hao's courtyard. That was Xiao Jihan's residence. This kid. Did he break through as well? Xiao Ding thought to himself in surprise. With a flash of his body, he transformed into a gust of wind and rapidly approached Xiao Jihan's room. At the same time, the powerful perception of someone who had 1 foot in the martial emperor realm silently spread out. Very good, very good. Jihan, what else do you have to worry about now? There are still 5 days before the group stage ends. The round-robin competition for the top 10 can only take place 5 times a day. As long as you don't meet the 2 people from the Hao family in advance, you still have a few days to cultivate. With the help of these spirit herbs, with your talent, it's very likely that you'll be the champion. I really didn't expect your Dongfang family to be a branch of the 3 great families of our Jinyuan kingdom. However, Jihan, I'm a member of the Xiao family after all. Please tell your father that after this matter is settled, the elemental spirit cave will belong to your Dongfang family, and the Xiao family will be mine. Don't worry, 6th elder. Without your nurturing over the past 3 years, I, Dongfang Han, wouldn't be where I am today. This time, I was able to obtain the help of the main family because of my cultivation and talent. My father will definitely keep his promise. However, you must be careful about this matter. You mustn't let Ji Yin know. It's been 3 years. To tell you the truth, I more or less have some true feelings for that girl. Don't worry. Alright, I'll head over first. Xiao Ding never would have imagined that he would hear such a shocking secret from inadvertently eavesdropping. It was no wonder that the Dongfang family, who should have come to visit, didn't come to participate in the Yun State Martial Meet. It was no wonder that with the Dongfang family's wealth and good relations with the 4 great families of Yun State, the Dongfang family would let Dongfang Han, who was Xiao Jihan, choose the Xiao family. Even with Xiao Ding's strong mental fortitude, he was so shocked that he broke out in cold sweat. One of the 3 great families of the Jinyuan kingdom, the Dongfang family, Xiao Jihan's main family, the Dongfang family, was actually a branch of the Dongfang family, one of the 3 great families, and their target was the Xiao family's elemental spirit cave. Although he didn't know what Xiao Bo and Xiao Jihan's father were plotting, Xiao Ding obtained a lot of information from their short conversation. Xiao Ding took a deep breath and pondered for a moment with furrowed brows. Suppressing the shock in his heart, he quickly flew toward Xiao Guan's room. Xiao Guan was Xiao Ding's trusted aide. After giving Xiao Guan a few simple instructions, Xiao Ding flew out of the Xiao family's encampment as fast as lightning. There were still more than 2 hours before the start of the competition. With Xiao Ding's cultivation, it was enough for him to return to the Xiao family and return. He couldn't leave this matter to anyone else, so he had to do it personally. Why isn't the patriarch here yet? Early in the morning, when Chen Hao and the other Xiao family disciples gathered and prepared to set off, the patriarch Xiao Ding still hadn't arrived. The 6th elder frowned and asked. The patriarch said last night that his cultivation has reached a critical juncture. He told us to go on our own, and that he will arrive before the competition starts. The cold-faced Xiao Guan said in a deep voice without the slightest change in his expression. Then let's set off. Ji Yan, and you disciples, the reason I brought you here to watch the competition is not for you to play. You have to observe and learn diligently in order to gain something. In the future, the Xiao family will have to rely on you youngsters. And, as long as you cultivate diligently and perform well, this elder will focus on nurturing you. Do you understand? The 6th elder said sanctimoniously with a kind smile on his face. He was in a very good mood. Although he couldn't show anything at the moment, with his status as the 6th elder, educating these youngsters and nurturing some loyal subordinates for him after he took power was no problem. Xiao Guan's face was cold, and he didn't have the slightest reaction to the 6th elder's pretense. Although he didn't know why the patriarch rushed back to the Xiao family in the middle of the night, the fact that the patriarch hid it from the 6th elder and the others and let Xiao Guan know meant that it was definitely a big matter. And it was very likely related to Xiao Jihan and the 6th elder. After all, as Xiao Ding's trusted aide, he more or less knew about Xiao Ding and Old Zhao's decision. Martial arts venue. When Chun Hao and the others arrived at the martial arts venue, the spectator stands were already full. Even the 10-sided arena that was used for the previous day's battle had been turned into a spectator stand and was filled with spectators. The top 5 would be in a round-robin competition. Because the difference in strength between the contestants was not large, there was a possibility that someone would be injured in every battle. Therefore, the competition couldn't be like the previous day's elimination round, where there were consecutive battles. Every day, one person in each group would have a bye, so there were only 2 matches. There were 10 groups, so there were only 20 matches in total. Therefore, all the matches were concentrated in the main arena. This way, the spectators would be able to enjoy watching and not miss out on any exciting matches. Before the competition started, Xiao Ding, who was the vice leader of the arbitration team, arrived on time. As for Chun Hao, he was lucky enough to draw a bye. There were 5 people in each group, and each person would only get a bye once. When the lots were drawn tomorrow, he would be the first to draw. If he drew a bye, he would have to draw another lot. It had to be said that being the first to draw a bye was very lucky for Chun Hao. Chun Hao informed Xiao Guan and returned to the Xiao clan's encampment with Xiao Mei. Although Chun Hao also wanted to see the contestants' performance, what he needed more now was to cultivate. Last night, even though Chun Hao had successfully advanced to a rank 4 martial master, the huge pressure brought by Hao Lion Wuxi still didn't decrease. With his cultivation as a rank 4 martial master, Chun Hao still didn't have the confidence to win. Therefore, before he met Hao Lion Wuxi, he had to improve himself as quickly as possible. Only by increasing his cultivation could he truly increase his combat strength. Second update. If you have a recommendation vote, please vote for Wu Shan. Thank you. Chapter 48. A Grade 8 Martial Master. Xiao Jihan from the Xiao clan has actually advanced to a Grade 8 Martial Master. He really hit it well. The Xiao clan has finally risen. The strength that Xiao Jihan displayed just now is probably not inferior to Hao Lian Wuxi and Hao Lian Yiqing. It's very likely that he has already advanced to a Grade 8 Martial Master. Yes, he's really powerful. His talent is probably not inferior to Xiao Xianghao's. On the first day of the round-robin competition, Xiao Jihan became the topic of discussion in the entire venue. A peak Grade 6 martial master from the Hao clan was actually blasted out of the stage by Xiao Jihan's seemingly casual palm strike, causing him to faint from serious injuries. That was a peak Grade 6 martial master. Furthermore, he was a disciple of the Haolian clan who was known for their defense. It was certain that even a peak Grade 7 martial master would not be able to defeat that Grade 6 martial master so easily. However, Xiao Jihan had done it. That casual palm strike had truly displayed the shocking cultivation of a Grade 8 martial master. Furthermore, it was definitely not something that someone who had just advanced to a Grade 8 martial master could do. Chun Hao, who had left early, was at the Xiao clan's encampment. He had Xiao Mei use all her strength as a Grade 9 martial master to battle with Hao Lian Wuxi for an entire day. According to Xiao Mei's estimation, although she was a Grade 9 martial master, she was probably not a match for Hao Lian Wuxi. Therefore, if Chun Hao wanted to defeat Hao Lian Wuxi, he had to defeat her in her peak state. After an entire day, unfortunately, although Chun Hao gave it his all, he still lost in the end. After learning from Xiao Jishan, Lil Ling and the others that Xiao Jihan had advanced to a Grade 8 martial master and might not be inferior to Hao Lian Wuxi, Chun Hao became even more excited. That night, he swallowed another 3 Grade 5 pills. However, it was a pity that he only managed to slightly increase his origin power through tempering. No matter how talented he was, he would not be able to comprehend the barrier between a Grade 4 martial master and a Grade 5 martial master in a day. A genius was a combination of 99% sweat and 1% talent. Although Chun Hao's talent was much stronger, it was not something that could be accomplished overnight. He still needed time. The morning breeze blew gently, the sun rose from the east, and the sun and moon alternated. This was an unchanging law that would never change because of people's wishes. After all, one day was too short. Chun Hao finally stepped onto the stage again and drew lots. His only hope was that he wouldn't meet Haolian Wuxi for the time being, because he wasn't ready yet. He, who was born with pride, would never allow himself to fail. If he was given more time, he believed that he would definitely be able to do it. However, Chen Hao's good luck seemed to have come to an end. Haolian Wuxi. When he saw that Haolian Wuxi had drawn the same number as him, Chen Hao took a deep breath. His black eyes shone brightly, and his gaze intertwined with Haolian Wuxi's. Hiss hiss hiss. What Chen Hao and Haolian Wuxi did not expect was that the moment their eyes met for the first time, both of them were shocked at the same time. It was as if electric currents were born in their bodies at the same time. A very strange feeling appeared in their hearts out of nowhere. Chen Hao frowned slightly, and Haolian Wuxi raised her eyebrows slightly. What's going on? Haolian Wuxi and Chen Hao avoided each other's gaze at the same time, and each of them pondered in their hearts. It seems it's the energy in her body. Humph. It's just a third-grade martial master. What do I have to fear? Haolian Wuxi's eyebrows relaxed. 8th grade martial master. Do I, Chen Hao, have to admit defeat? At worst. Chen Hao's eyes flashed coldly. He bit his lips lightly, and secretly made up his mind. Since he had drawn the lot, he could only fight. There was no way back, and he could only move forward. It's destined to cause trouble. But it's better than a man. Chen Hao's gaze swept across the audience who were staring at Haolian Wuxi with infatuation. His furrowed eyebrows also relaxed. He shrugged slightly and said to himself, "It's good that I can win. Why do I have to worry so much? This isn't me, Chen Hao. I'm Li Yuan. Madman Li Yuan. When did I care about what others say? Junior, Haolian's family is our mortal enemy. Since you can't win, remember, when the time comes, don't fight recklessly. She's not senior, and will not show mercy. As long as there's a chance, she will definitely injure you severely, or even cripple you. So if you can't win, admit defeat immediately." "Okay." Chen Hao responded and didn't say anything more. He looked at the main arena that everyone was looking at. First round, first group, Sima Jianyun from the Sima family versus Li Xiaojian from the Li family. "Contestants, please come to the arena." When the referee's voice resounded throughout the entire arena. Boom! Boom! 2 figures suddenly flew up from the contestants' seats and jumped onto the main arena in an instant. Li family? Isn't Buttface in the Li family? When Chen Hao heard the referee announce the contestants' names, he frowned slightly and thought to himself, it should be this Li family. Buttface was Chen Hao's best friend. It could be said that he was able to enter the Xiao family largely because of Buttface's help. Without Buttface, he wouldn't have been able to participate in the Xiao family's test. Without Buttface's help, he and his family would probably still be homeless. Only friends who could go through thick and thin together, or true friends who could go through thick and thin together. Therefore, even though Chen Hao was no longer the Chen Hao of the past, their brotherhood hadn't changed at all. Since Buttface had also embarked on the path of cultivation, Chen Hao couldn't ignore him. Boom! Boom! The violent fluctuation of origin energy interrupted Chen Hao's thoughts. Although the fierce-looking Sima Jianyun was only 17 years old, his face, which was as fierce as his father's, made him look like he was 30 years old. However, this guy's cultivation was much better than his appearance. As the #1 genius of the Sima family, it wasn't enough to make him look fierce. As one of the top 10 contestants, Sima Jianyun didn't even need to use his sword. He relied on his violent and vigorous origin energy to easily make his opponent admit defeat in 3 to 4 minutes of battle. Next, the 2 contestants from the second group entered the arena. The 2 of them were comparable in strength. In the end, one of them was seriously injured, while the other had minor injuries. In the third group, Haolian easily defeated his opponent. In the fourth group, Moui won in 2 minutes. There was basically no suspense in the top 10 groups of the 4 great families. Furthermore, they were arranged in the first group to enter the arena. Because this was a competition where the difference in strength was slightly larger, there wasn't much suspense in the outcome. Soon, it was the 6th group's turn. What surprised Chen Hao was that Xiao Jihan had won many fans in just one day. It had to be said that Xiao Jihan, who was handsome and highly talented, and whose family was the richest in Yunzhou, had imperceptibly covered him with a layer of mini halo. It was natural for him to be sought after. When Xiao Jihan once again defeated his opponent with a casual move, it triggered the first small climax since the start of the competition. Cheers resounded throughout the entire arena. However, no matter if it was Hao Liani or Hao Liani, they all looked at Xiao Jihan with a trace of disdain. Especially Hao Liani, who looked as if he was looking at Lei Feng. Without a doubt, if he was Xiao Jihan, he would definitely not reveal that he had advanced to become a grade 8 martial master, let alone be so arrogant. The key to victory was to keep a low profile and reveal himself at the most crucial moment. However, Chen Hao expressed that he understood, especially when he saw Xiao Jihan looking at him with arrogance and disdain after he won. He understood even more. Under Chen Hao's repeated attacks, it was already commendable that this fellow could endure until now to fly into a rage. 7th round, 7th group. Hao Liani from the Hao family versus Xiao Xianghao from the Xiao family. Please enter the arena. When the referee called out Hao Liani and Chen Hao's names, the audience, who were already cheering for Xiao Jihan, instantly exploded with even more enthusiasm. Hao Liani, the #1 genius beauty in Cloud State City, resounded throughout the entire arena. Even Chen Hao, who had become a celebrity and gained the recognition of many people, was completely submerged under Hao Liani's great charm. Looking at the pairs of crazy eyes, Chen Hao actually curled up into a devilish smile at this moment. He really wanted to know if he would be drowned in the saliva of such a huge legion of fans when they saw how he fought against Hao Liani. Bang! Chen Hao stomped his feet on the ground, and his body instantly shot up into the sky like a cannonball. At the same time, a majestic battle intent spread out from his body. In contrast to Chen Hao, Hao Liani's beautiful figure was as light as a dancing fairy, landing gracefully on the arena. For pairs of eyes met each other. Streaks of electric sparks that no one could see or feel stimulated their bodies and minds. Both of them could see this feeling from each other's eyes. However, neither of them would say it out loud. Begin. Following the referee's shout, everyone thought that Hao Liani and Chen Hao would act like the others and immediately attack. But what made everyone feel strange was that both of them actually stared into each other's eyes with bright eyes, and their expressions were calmer than the other. Although the battle intent from both of them was rapidly rising, this scene was indeed out of everyone's expectations. Chen Hao's reaction wasn't strange. After all, Hao Liani's beautiful appearance would cause any male disciple to be stunned. But why didn't Hao Liani attack? Could it be that a beauty meeting a genius, and her heart was moved? That wasn't possible. Hao Liani was already Hao Liani's fiancé. Although Chen Hao was a super genius, and was exceptionally handsome, he was only a 13-year-old kid. It wasn't enough to move Hao Liani's heart. So why was that? Even Hao Liani frowned slightly when he saw this scene. You'd better admit defeat. At this moment, Hao Liani opened her red lips for the first time since the start of the competition. Her faint and ethereal voice was like the tinkling of a clear spring in people's ears. It was extremely moving. Tasting it carefully, it was like a gentle breeze and drizzle, but also like the clear spring water cleansing the heart. Third update. My throat is hoarse from shouting. Dear friends, can you hear that? Please give me some support. I really need it. I really need it. Thank you. I recommend a friend to recommend the new work of the world-destroying serpent, the Great Master. It's a very good book. If you're interested, please help to collect it. Thank you. It's on the direct link. Chapter 49. How Lion Wuxi's voice alone was enough to mesmerize countless young disciples. They could not help but think that if he was Chen Hao, he would definitely admit defeat. How could he have the nerve to refuse such a beautiful woman? How could he reject her? How could he reject her? Especially since Chen Hao was no match for her. How could a grade 3 martial master fight her? Although it was extremely abnormal to be able to defeat a grade 6 martial master, the difference between a grade 6 martial master and a grade 8 martial master was not small. So what if he admitted defeat? It was straightforward, and no one would criticize him. Naturally, the vast majority of people thought that Chen Hao would admit defeat. However, Chen Hao's handsome and masculine face didn't have the slightest change in his expression when he heard such a beautiful voice. I might not lose. Why should I admit defeat? Chen Hao said calmly. His voice was also indifferent. However, unlike Hao Lion Wuxia, Chen Hao's voice was filled with a cold determination. It was as if he was telling everyone that the beauty in front of him, who could make any young man kneel before her, was only an opponent in his eyes. An opponent that was no different from an ordinary girl or even a man. That was all. Hao Lion Wuxia raised her eyebrows slightly. She continued to look straight at Chen Hao and said, I gave you a chance. Since you don't want it, I won't hold back. Hao Lion Wuxia had indeed given Chen Hao a chance. Of course, she was also giving herself a chance. The head of the Haolian family, Hao Lianlei, had already cautioned that as long as they met Chen Hao, they were to find an opportunity to severely injure or even kill him. The most basic requirement was to destroy his cultivation. For such a super genius, especially in the opposing Shao family, as long as he existed, he would evolve into a powerful and terrifying existence that the Haolian family could not resist. As for the life and death battle between Chen Hao and Xiao Jihan, the head of the Haolian family, Hao Lianlei, felt that it was child's play. He did not doubt that even if Xiao Ding went against the rules of martial arts, he would not let Chen Hao die in Xiao Jihan's hands. However, Hao Lian Wuxia had asked Chen Hao to admit defeat at the very beginning, because for some unknown reason, Chen Hao's calm, deep and piercingly cold gaze, and the surging battle intent emitted from his body caused her to feel danger from the depths of her heart. He could not help but blurt it out. When she said it, she regretted it a little, because if Chen Hao really admitted defeat, then how could she complete the task given to her by the patriarch? Bring it on. Isn't your Haolian clan famous for its defense? Today, I will let you experience the secret of our Shao clan's ancestor. I want to see if your Haolian clan's defense is stronger, or if our Shao clan's defense is stronger. But you're a woman, so please don't mind. On the arena, there are no men or women, only opponents. Chen Hao stared at Hao Lian Wuxia without any emotion in his eyes and said coldly. But Chen Hao's words made everyone baffled. Even Xiao Ding had a bewildered look too. When did the old ancestor have a secret that was not passed down? As the descendant of the Shao clan, and the patriarch of the Shao clan, how could he not know? A secret that is not passed down. Patriarch Shao, your genius is very arrogant. Don't tell me he really thinks that a grade 3 martial master can defeat our Xiao Wu? What a joke. Xiao Wu hates people who do not know the immensity of heaven and earth the most. If anything happens later, don't blame our Haolian clan. Ha! Hao Lianlei stroked his long beard and said eccentrically. Something happens? Patriarch Hao, if I'm not wrong, I'm afraid it's your task? Is it? I really want to do that. But if old man gave it, would Xiao Wu let him admit defeat? What a joke. Don't measure the heart of a gentleman with your petty heart. Your Shao clan is not even an old man's eyes. Hao Lianlei said disdainfully and arrogantly. Haha. Just as Xiao Ding was about to explode in anger, Li Ran, who was sitting in the middle, suddenly chuckled. He waved his hand between the two and said, This battle should be very interesting. That little fellow is not simple. Li Ran's words caused the 4 patriarchs and the members of the arbitration team to be slightly shocked. Li Ran, who had a scholarly temperament and the demeanor of an immortal, was at the Intent Emperor realm. He was the undisputed #1 expert in Cloud State County. Furthermore, an Intent Emperor realm expert's senses were far beyond what a martial artist could reach. Since Li Ran had said so, it was definitely not an exaggeration. That Chen Hao definitely had some hidden strength. This caused a slight change in everyone's thinking. Originally, they had the same thoughts as Hao Lianlei. They thought that Chen Hao was the kind of genius who was arrogant and did not know how to endure. Otherwise, he would not have agreed to a life-and-death battle with Xiao Jihan, an opponent who completely surpassed him. Even more so, he would not have fearlessly challenged Hao Lian Wu, who was even stronger than Xiao Jihan, despite knowing the enmity between the Haolian clan and the Shao clan. Just as the big shots of the arbitration team were shocked, Chen Hao and Hao Lian Wu's mutual appreciation finally ended. After Hao Lian Wu's body flashed with a dazzling and majestic protective aura, there was no violent roar. Her entire body was like a gust of wind, and in a flash, she floated in front of Chun Hao. Thousand Phantom Palm. Chun Hao's eyes suddenly narrowed. Thousand Phantom Palm was a level 7 secret technique. It was much stronger than the level 6 secret technique of the Mo clan. Overlapping Waves Palm. The circulation of the elemental energy in the meridians was extremely complicated. Without excellent aptitude, it was impossible to successfully cultivate it. At the highest level, this secret technique could increase one's attack power by 7 times. However, this was not the most important thing. The most important thing was the 4 words Thousand Phantom Palm. When the palm struck out, there were thousands of changes. Layers of palm shadows, illusory and real, made it impossible for the opponent to determine which palm was the real one. Looking at Chun Hao, who was completely enveloped by Hao Lianwu's palm shadows, Xiao Ding suddenly frowned. Even he did not expect that Hao Lianwu, who was only a martial master, could actually cultivate the Thousand Phantom Palm, which could only be cultivated by a martial emperor. What made Xiao Ding even more worried was that although Chun Hao was in a fighting posture, he did not activate his protective aura. Could it be that in the face of Hao Lianwu, a level 8 martial master, this kid wanted to use violence to curb violence like he did to Mo Yuxiang? Not bad. At the same time, Li Ran, who was beside him, unexpectedly spoke again. Just as the crowd was still trying to figure out who Li Ran was referring to, Chun Hao in the arena moved the moment the palm shadows were about to reach him. Lock. Silent like a virgin, moving like a fleeing rabbit, facing Hao Lianwu's layers of palm shadows and huge pressure, Chun Hao's body did not move at all. Only his contracted pupils allowed the crowd to see that Chun Hao was trying to catch Hao Lianwu's real attack. And now he moved. Relying on his natural advantage of speed, he moved as fast as lightning. No one understood why Chun Hao did not dodge at the beginning and allowed Hao Lianwu's palm shadows to envelop him. Could it be that he could really lock onto the real killing move of Hao Lianwu's palm shadows? Ancient Chinese martial arts were extensive and profound. The highest level of defense was offense. However, that was under the situation of the same realm. When facing an opponent who was completely beyond one's realm, one could only use true defense. The ancient martial arts lost art, Golden Snake Coiling Hand, was the best defensive lost art in ancient Chinese martial arts that used the weak to suppress the strong. Lock was the highest level of the Golden Snake Coiling Hand. Lock, 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 lock onto the attack, lock onto the opponent, lock onto everything. This was Chun Hao's only way to deal with Hao Lianwu. It was also the method that Chun Hao had been considering whether to use after he and Hao Lianwu were assigned to the same group. These 2 days, he desperately tried to raise his realm. It was nothing more than wanting to rely on his real strength to defeat Hao Lianwu. However, the time was too short. Now he could only choose this method. Moreover, Chun Hao believed that success or failure depended on the first move. As long as he could successfully lock onto Hao Lianwu with the first move, he would have the hope of winning, because Hao Lianwu was a woman, and she was still a virgin. Pa pa pa. Boom boom boom. The crisp sound of body contact and the terrifying sound of origin energy explosion resounded in the entire arena almost at the same time. The expected defeat did not happen, but a scene that stunned everyone appeared. No way. Fuck. A variety of exclamations erupted from the entire venue's grandstand. Countless people's faces were filled with shock, disbelief, and unimaginable. Many of them were extremely envious or extremely angry as they stood up. Bastard! In front of the arena, Hao Lianqing, who was originally sitting on the contestant's seat, was instantly enraged. He stood up with a flushed face. It was certain that if this was not a competition, as Hao Lianwu's fiancé, he would definitely rush up and hack Chun Hao into pieces to vent the hatred in his heart. Because what Chun Hao was doing now was something that he, Hao Lianqing, had always wanted to do, but could not do. Lock. Lock lock. Lock lock lock. Chun Hao endured Hao Lianwu's violent origin energy explosion. It was only a short moment of contact, but blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Even the clothes on his body were torn in many places by the origin energy explosion. However, Chun Hao clenched his teeth. There was only one obsession in his heart. Lock. His body was like a snake coiling around Hao Lianwu's graceful body. His hands were locked around hers, and his legs were wrapped around hers. No matter how much Hao Lianwu frantically circulated her essence force, he was like a dog's skin plaster, unable to be shaken off. Hao Lianwu was a young girl. Although the clan head had appointed the engagement, she and Hao Liani had never held each other's hands, not to mention being entangled together in such a shameful way. Just like that, her pure body was possessed and sullied by Chen Hao. Moreover, it was in front of the major forces of the Cloud State, and tens of thousands of spectators. Hao Lianwu was both embarrassed and angry. Her beautiful little face was already red, and her clear eyes were even redder. Her mind seemed to have stopped working, and there was only one thought in her mind. Get rid of him, kill him, cut him into pieces. First update. Thank you to my 11 friends. Passionate Love Nanmingzi XX, Mengi XX, Fengbai, MOUA, Chenyu Chuanliang Wuzi Watkower 9th Dusk, Fish That Can't Really Swim, Book Friend 1111081433026005. And especially those who support Dark Mountain with their gifts every day. Thank you very much for giving Dark Mountain such a great motivation. My new book really needs your encouragement and support. Dark Mountain is a full-time writer, and I rely on this to make a living. Whether the results are good or bad will have a great impact on Dark Mountain. That's why, my friends who are reading Proud Heaven, even if it's just during the free period for the public to access the starting point, click on the chapters, and cast a free recommendation vote. It's all showing your support for Dark Mountain. This is also the source of motivation for Dark Mountain to write. Thank you everyone. Chapter 50. The dignified 8th grade martial master Hao Lianwu's heart was in a mess. The only thing she knew was to violently release her origin energy and attack randomly. Pa pa pa. Chen Hao threw out a hand and wrapped it around Hao Lian's body. He threw out a leg and quickly wrapped it around Hao Lian's body again. The highest level of the golden snake coiling hand, lock, was displayed by Chen Hao to the fullest. He became a real dog skin plaster and stuck tightly to Hao Lian's body. However, even so, the woman who was embarrassed and angry still exploded with a terrifying strength, causing Chen Hao to use all his strength. Chen Hao could clearly feel that the injuries on his body were getting more and more serious. Even his internal organs were severely shaken, but he had to persevere. 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 Pa pa pa. Everyone stared blankly at the two people entangled together. At first, they were shocked by Chen Hao's shameless and strange defense method. But now they were shocked by Chen Hao's use of a technique that they had never heard of before. Everyone couldn't help but think, if they were locked by Chen Hao like this, what would they do? No one knew the answer. Because no one had a solution. Xiao Mei, who was in the stands, was blushing and her delicate body was trembling. It was only at this moment that Xiao Mei finally understood what Chen Hao meant when he said something like fan club, and what method should I use, and so on. He also finally understood what kind of method Chen Hao had used to make him use the strength of a 9th grade martial master. And after fighting for an entire day, he had been beaten black and blue by him. In the end he had said, I can only use that method. She also finally understood why when she asked him to use that method to fight with her, he wouldn't do it no matter what. Everything was like this. However, you are a woman, so please don't mind. On the stage, there are no men or women, only opponents. Looking at Chen Hao, whose mouth was full of blood but whose eyes were firm, and whose lips were tightly clenched, and the scene of Hao Lian and Wu Zi struggling crazily, and enduring attacks again and again, many people recalled the words Chen Hao had said before the battle began. He had taken advantage of Hao Lian Wu Zi, and stuck close to her delicate body that countless young men dreamed of. However, there wasn't the slightest trace of wretchedness in his eyes. There was only locking onto his opponent. Everyone could imagine what kind of shocking destructive power Hao Lian Wu Zi's violent essence force had, and Chen Hao had withstood it all. For Chen Hao and Hao Lian, a few minutes felt like a century. As time passed, the attacks of Hao Lian Wu Zi, who was struggling madly with her origin energy, became weaker and weaker. Obviously, her origin energy was about to be exhausted. Similarly, Chen Hao, who had activated all his origin energy to protect his body and increase his strength to lock Hao Lian and Wuxia, was also on the verge of collapse. No, I can't lose. I can't. I want to kill him, kill him, kill him. Hao Lian Wuxia's crimson-red eyes gradually regained clarity as her origin energy was exhausted. Tears of humiliation welled up in her eyes, and her furious voice roared in her heart. When had she, a 16-year-old girl, suffered such humiliation? Even though Chen Hao wasn't even 13 years old, his figure was already that of a young man. Moreover, being humiliated wasn't enough. Could it be that she was going to lose this battle? This was something she absolutely couldn't tolerate. The last trace of reason finally completely disappeared under the enormous pressure and humiliation of being on the verge of defeat. Hiss hiss. The trace of profound energy hidden deep within Hao Lian Wuxia's dantian, at this moment, when she was on the verge of defeat, finally erupted without restraint. It was just a trace, but following Hao Lian Wuxia's activation, the originally gentle energy that seemed to be nourishing her dantian at all times suddenly burst out like a river bursting a dam, a mountain torrent erupting. In an instant, monstrous waves surged violently out of her dantian, as if it had transformed into a sharp sword, directly piercing towards Chen Hao, who was stuck close to her back. Body to body, dantian to dantian, Hao Lian Wuxia knew that success or failure depended on this one move. If she succeeded, Chen Hao's dantian would rupture and his cultivation would be crippled. At that time, she would be able to easily break free from Chen Hao's entanglement and immediately kill him. Ruthlessly kill him. Disregarding the rules, killing him even if he admitted defeat, killing anyone who tried to stop her. Only in this way could she protect her secret, a secret that no one knew about. Because the two of them were so close to each other, no one saw Hao Lian Wuxia releasing this energy. Everyone only saw the two's movements becoming smaller and smaller. But the city lord Li Ran, who was sitting in the middle of the platform, slightly narrowed his eyes. At that moment, the air in front of his eyes was like water ripples, slightly twisting. Boom, boom, boom. Chen Hao and Hao Lian Wuxia were the same. They were already at the point of exhaustion, but he knew that at least they would not lose this battle, because Hao Lian Wuxia's struggle was also becoming weaker and weaker. As long as they could hold on for a little longer, everything should be over. But at this moment, Chen Hao's sharp senses suddenly sensed that the mysterious energy on Hao Lian Wuxia's body, which was able to trigger an electric arc between the two of them, suddenly became countless times stronger. Before Chen Hao could react, a piercing pain came from his dantian. In just an instant, that energy seemed to have turned into a raging sea in his dantian, violently slamming against the surrounding dantian walls. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Chen Hao felt as if he had swallowed countless high-grade elixirs at once, almost bursting his dantian in an instant. Instantly, Chen Hao felt an unprecedented sense of danger. At this moment of life and death, Chen Hao did not have time to think, and did not have time to think. The mysterious ice chi hidden in his body exploded in his dantian with a boom. An extremely cold aura instantly filled his entire dantian, and the raging waves froze in an instant, as if they had condensed into solid ice. At this moment, Hao Lian Wuxia, whose mind and energy were connected as one, suddenly widened her eyes in horror. At the moment when the entire sea was about to condense into solid ice, she suddenly retracted back into Hao Lian Wuxia's dantian, as fast as lightning. Mysterious ice chi. Hao Lian Wuxia's final trump card was so easily defeated by Chen Hao. At the same time, Hao Lian Wuxia's heart was also defeated. A sense of despair surfaced in her heart. With only a trace of strength left, she stopped struggling, and sadly closed her beautiful eyes. 2 lines of sparkling tears flowed down her beautiful face. She had lost. The one who had lost was not only the competition, but also herself. She had lost completely. Keep a secret or kill me. Hao Lian Wuxia, who had already been pinned down by Chen Hao, closed her eyes tightly. Her beautiful face suddenly twisted slightly, and she turned to Chen Hao's ear. Using a determined voice, she said faintly, Chun Hao, who had exposed the profound Bing Qi, was in a state of mind that was violently fluctuating. He was very clear that if Hao Lian Wuzi did not die, he would be a great threat to him, and it might even be a fatal threat. On this point, old Xiao and Xiao Ding had cautiously reminded him, but the sparkling tears on Hao Lian Wuzi's beautiful face, the look of despair, and the words she suddenly said, made Chun Hao frown slightly. After being stunned for a short while, Chun Hao, who was also on the verge of collapse, made a decision. His body loosened, and he rolled to one side from Hao Lian Wuzi's body. It was the word "keep a secret" that made Chun Hao, who was hesitating, make a decision for Chun Hao. Chun Hao was very clear that even in the situation where the two of them were close together, there was not much hope of using the mysterious ice chi to kill Hao Lian Wuzi, because the mysterious ice chi in his dantian could destroy Hao Lian Wuzi's energy. It should be the water attribute energy of the 5 elements. But it did not mean that when he attacked Hao Lian Wuzi's dantian, he would have the upper hand. And even if he could succeed, this was obviously a battle to see who could last until the end. How could anyone die? He was only locked. If he died, it would be him dying under Hao Lian Wuzi's struggle. He could not explain it, and there was no reason. This was one of the reasons. Secondly, Chun Hao used this kind of wretched battle method. In the end, it was blasphemous first, and he used Hao Lian Wuzi's virgin identity. Otherwise, if it was any other wind person with the same cultivation, how could they lose their cool and fall into madness? Then the one who lost or died in the end would be him. Even if the current Chun Hao's heart was like a boulder in ice, he still more or less felt a little guilty towards Hao Lian Wuzi, especially when he saw Hao Lian Wuzi's expression of despair and tears. Clap, clap, clap. At this time, in the quiet martial arts arena, crisp clapping sounds came from the rostrum. City Lord Li Ran, who was sitting on the rostrum, actually had a faint kind smile on his face. He stared at the two people who seemed to have exhausted all their strength, and took the lead to clap his hands, saying, "Not bad, not bad. The two of you are very good. How about this round be considered a draw? Of course, if the two of you still have the strength to fight, you can continue." The matter should have been the referee, but as the chairman of the arbitration group, Li Ran actually directly spoke. The expression on his face was obviously extremely admiring of Chun Hao and Hao Lian Wuzi. City Lord. Chun Hao and Hao Lian Wuzi didn't say anything, and also didn't have the strength to speak. Especially Chun Hao, whose tensed-up nerves, after heaving a sigh of relief instantly, his entire body felt like it was falling apart. There was no place that wasn't painful, so how would he have the strength to speak? And the despairing Hao Lian Wuzi, how would she have the mood to speak? But on the rostrum, Hao Lian family head Hao Lianlei, who was sitting beside Li Ran, stood up with a furious expression. Such shameless, how could it be considered a draw? This kid is simply the scum of the martial arts world. That's not right. Li Ran, who was always indifferent, actually smiled at this moment, and directly refuted Hao Lianlei's words, saying, "This is an extremely powerful and strange defensive unique skill. Unique skills are only differentiated by grade, and there's no distinction between nobility and lowliness. Furthermore, what Xiao Xianghao said is right. On the arena, there's no male or female, only opponents. Furthermore, this kid is only 13 years old. How can we look at this battle with prejudice? This old man thinks that this will be a very exciting showdown." Second update. Seeking recommendation votes collection. Chapter 51. That's right. I agree with the city lord. Xiao Ding said loudly at the first moment. He was very excited in his heart. Even he didn't think that the city lord Li Ran would take the initiative to speak up. And from his words, he thought highly of Chun Hao. This was something that had never happened in the Cloud State martial meet in the past. This is the most interesting defensive lost art that I've ever seen. In a short moment, the people of the arbitration team made their stance clear. Not to mention that what Li Ran said made sense. Even if it didn't make sense, it still made sense. The Hellion clan was powerful, but no matter how powerful they were, they couldn't be more powerful than the City Lord residents. Although the City Lord residents didn't have a superior and subordinate relationship with the various powers, The city lord residence was the true core of a region. They didn't care about the small matters, but look at the big matters. I didn't think that old Master Xiao was still hiding such a powerful lost art. It's really shocking. Patriarch Xiao, what's the name of this lost art? And what level of cultivation technique is it? A member of the arbitration team asked. This is the old ancestor's secret. Even I don't know. Xiao Ding was embarrassed in the face of everyone's questioning. He was the dignified patriarch of the Xiao clan. But he didn't even know his clan's martial arts. It was really too embarrassing. He really didn't know when the old ancestor had hidden such a strange martial art. He even seriously doubted whether this was the old ancestor's martial art. But doubts were doubts. Since Chen Hao had put this hat on old Master Zhao's head, then he had to admit it. He had to admit it even if he didn't want to. He had to admit it even if he lost face. On the main stage, after the referee saw that more than half of the members of the arbitration team had expressed their stance, he straightforwardly announced the result of the match. Helian Wuxi tied with Chen Hao. Helian Wuxi tightly bit her tender lips and stood up shakily. Her beautiful hair and clothes had become extremely messy from being entangled and rolled around with Chen Hao. What was most eye-catching was that on her bulging breasts, 2 clear bloody claw marks had actually appeared at some unknown time. Even Helian Wuxi herself didn't notice it. However, when she slowly walked down the arena, step by step, she blinded the eyes of countless admirers. Especially her fiancé Helian Yiqing. His small eyes emitted a fury that was close to exploding. Veins popped out on his face that was as sharp as a knife, and his teeth were clenched so hard that they made creaking sounds. He had always had a cold and unyielding character, and would never easily show his feelings on his face. However, at this time, he was unable to conceal it no matter what, nor did he want to conceal it. Helian Wuxi was his fiancée, but unexpectedly, Li Ran and the others could treat Chen Hao's style of fighting as a defensive ultimate art. But how could he? How could it be possible? His fiancée that he hadn't even touched, the woman that he loved deeply, was actually entangled, rolled around, and attacked by another man. Was this something that a man could tolerate? Little Wu, I will kill him for you. Helian Yiqing stared at Helian Wuxi's pale and expressionless face and said word by word. At the same time, he extended his hand, wanting to support Helian Wuxi, who was on the verge of collapse. However, he was stopped by Helian Wuxi with a wave of her hand. Senior sister, take me back. Helian Wuxi's originally ethereal and beautiful voice, although still pleasant to the ears, seemed to have lost all vitality. The woman who was called senior sister looked at Helian Yiqing and seemed to hesitate slightly. However, she still hugged Helian Wuxi affectionately. Her figure flashed and she quickly left. No one knew what Helian Yiqing was feeling at this moment. However, that slightly trembling body, that flushed face, that vicious and humiliated gaze, seemed to be even more intense than when he was staring at Chen Hao. Almost at the same time, Xiao Mei, whose face was slightly red, carried Chen Hao, who was even more miserable than Helian Wuxi. Under the gazes of countless people, they quickly left the martial arts arena. The battle continued. However, perhaps because the battle between Chen Hao and Helian Wuxi was too exciting, what should have been a very exciting battle seemed to have lost its flavor in the eyes of the crowd. Xiao Jihan, who had been proud of himself for 2 days, once again had a gloomy and bitter expression on his face. He was just short of tears. What kind of world was this? After being defeated time and time again, he became stronger and stronger. Just as he was proud of himself, it happened again. Was there an end to it? Was there still justice? He had just become a grade 8 martial master, and he had become a grade 4 martial master. So what if he changed? He was just a small grade 4 martial master. However, a grade 4 martial master could actually be on par with a grade 8 martial master. Moreover, it was a grade 8 martial master that he admired and had no confidence in defeating. Chen Hao, whose mouth was full of dirty blood, closed his eyes slightly, enduring the exhaustion and piercing pain all over his body. Although the golden snake coiling hand had locked onto Helian Wuxi, the huge gap between their realms still gave Chen Hao a huge pressure. The completely crazy Helian Wuxi was like a wild horse that could not be tamed. Chun Hao used all of his methods and strength, but in the end, he could only barely suppress her and was unable to tame her. It even caused him to be exhausted and heavily injured. The faint fragrance of Xiao Mei's body that entered his nostrils, as well as that soft embrace, actually became Chun Hao's pain-relieving medicine at this moment, especially when he thought about the battle with Helian Wuxia halfway through, when he felt that he couldn't take it anymore and had no choice but to use the great art of mind confusion. The softness, charm, and gentleness that passed into his hands, and all sorts of wonderful feelings, made Chun Hao's cold and unfeeling state of mind that was as firm as a boulder, a little bit messed up, a messy feeling. It seemed very good. Junior, Just when Chun Hao was immersed in the good feeling of being messy, Xiao Mei, who was hugging him and moving forward quickly and steadily, suddenly called out. Chun Hao was immediately startled awake. The foam-like mess immediately vanished like smoke into thin air. He opened his eyes and looked at Xiao Mei's not very beautiful, but very pleasing to the eye and very charming little face. Victory, is it really that important? Do you know that you are gambling with your own life? If at the beginning, you didn't entangle with me, do you know what the consequences would be? Senior has already told you that your performance is already very, very good. It has already far exceeded everyone's expectations. It's enough, it's really enough. Even if you can't enter the top 10, so what? Our Xiao family is already proud and elated, Xiao Mei said. Chun Hao stared at Xiao Mei. Xiao Mei didn't avoid his gaze at all. Xiao Mei felt that if Chun Hao didn't accept her, there would be a day when he would pay a heavy price for his personality. After the two looked at each other for a few seconds, Chun Hao grinned. His deep black eyes avoided Xiao Mei's gaze, but he narrowed them slightly and said, "Victory or defeat is not important to me." "Then why are you still risking your life? Is there?" Chun Hao smiled slightly and asked back. He didn't explain too much and continued. "I know that Senior is worried about me, but as long as there is a trace of hope, I will never allow myself to fail. A martial artist should be courageous and diligent, with the will to forge ahead. If one is overly calculative and fearful, how can one challenge one's limits and surpass oneself? Doing something only when one has a 10% chance of success is meaningless. We don't have to bring shame and destruction to ourselves without any chance of success. But as long as there is a 10% chance of victory, we will fight. We will use all our strength to firmly grasp that 10% chance of victory in our hands." Chun Hao's stubborn gaze, firm voice, and especially the words that attacked one's soul left Xiao Mei speechless once again. Besides, Xiao Jihan is already an 8th grade martial master, so I don't want to give up the training before the life and death battle. Only by fighting, by surpassing one's limits and filled with danger, can I quickly improve. So I must use all my strength to fight with Helian Wuxia. Haha. Although I didn't win against her, I didn't lose either. It can be considered a success. Chun Hao's bloodstained face revealed a brilliant smile, and his voice softened. Xiao Mei stared blankly for a moment before curling her lips and saying, "It's all your reasoning. I really don't know where you get these great principles from. Do as you please. Senior, you're so reserved." "What's reserved?" "You're clearly convinced. Why do you have to be convinced in your heart, and not in your mouth? If you show it, I'll be happy to pay. Who's convinced by you?" Xiao Mei blushed and spat. "It's fine if you don't admit it, as long as I understand. However, Senior, you can't copy what I just said because I'm different from you. You have to have at least 50% confidence. Otherwise, don't do it." "Oh, you're worried about me?" "You can say that. Other than my family, there aren't many people who can make me worry. You're very lucky to be one of them," Chun Hao said proudly with a sunny smile on his face. It was a pity that it was ruined beyond recognition by the bloodstains at the corner of his mouth and face. However, Chun Hao's mood was indeed very good at this moment. The naive youth of the past wouldn't have said such words, and the arrogant him would have disdained to say them. However, after the fusion, because of Xiao Mei's heartfelt care for him, he said them out loud. It was heartwarming but still filled with arrogance. Chun Hao knew that the current him was no longer any of his past selves. Instead, he had merged the characteristics of two people, and was a brand new him. When he faced Helian Wuxia, He had a deep understanding of the previous Chun Hao wouldn't have hesitated to kill, because Hellion Wuxi was only competing with him. Even if Hellion Wuxi wanted to use the water attribute energy of the 5 elements to shatter his Dantian, he wouldn't have any killing intent, because he was the one who molested her first. If it was any other girl, they wouldn't be able to tolerate it. However, the previous Earth madman would definitely kill him. However, he hesitated and didn't kill him in the end. Let me help you heal your injuries? When Xiao Mei brought Chen Hao back to the Xiao family's encampment, she said to Chen Hao, "No need. I still have pills, so it won't be a problem. I'll definitely be full of energy tomorrow." "All right then, I'll help you guard. Quickly go in." Chen Hao responded. His gaze suddenly looked at the empty door and said, "Chief Instructor, thank you." "Ah." Xiao Mei was slightly surprised. Cough cough. Xiao Guan, who always had a cold face, awkwardly coughed twice. His figure flashed and appeared in front of the two. He looked at Chen Hao with bright eyes and said, "You're indeed born with keen sixth sense. Are you really okay?" "I'm really fine," Chen Hao said. "That's good. Oh right, what's the martial art you used today called?" "I don't know. You'll have to ask Elder Xiao. Elder Xiao only told me, but didn't tell me the name." "It's not bad. But don't use it on girls in the future. A man should be open and above board. All right, you focus on healing. Xiao Mei is here. If there's anything, just call me. I'll be nearby," Xiao Guan said and quickly left. Looking at Xiao Guan's silhouette, Xiao Mei thought that it was because the head of the family and Xiao Guan valued Chen Hao. However, the moment Chen Hao turned and entered the cultivation room, he slightly narrowed his eyes. "P.S. Thanks for yesterday's Chuan Wuxi, passionate love carrot comma? Luo Shi? Thanks to his 13 friends Emochingi, dreaming is already dead, fish that can't really swim, harmless donkey, Hong Meng tree, tadpoles in the sea, raging fire like ice wind blows rain, maple is not night blue dome. Also, if you've seen it, please add it to your collection, recommend it, etc. Thank you." Chapter 52. Time flowed like water, and in the blink of an eye, today's competition had already ended. The curtain of night quietly came, and the bustling Cloud State city lit up with specks of light. In the cultivation room, Chen Hao sat cross-legged. His entire body was enveloped in a dense qi that was like water ripples, causing his figure to look as if it was constantly twisting and changing. If Elder Xiao and Xiao Ding were here, they would definitely be indescribably shocked. Huff! Right at this moment, Chen Hao slowly opened his eyes. His pair of eyes flickered with a faint trace of pleasant surprise, and he let out a long breath. Profound ice qi, the derivative energy of the water attribute of the 5 elements. It's probably because I comprehended the profound ice qi that I was able to easily comprehend the water attribute energy, because of Hellion Wuxi. Chen Hao gazed at the dense qi that was currently slowly merging into his Dantian, and muttered to himself. This dense qi wasn't origin power, nor was it the profound ice qi that Chen Hao had comprehended. It was the water attribute energy. Even Chen Hao didn't expect that the battle with Hellion Wuxi would actually allow him to obtain such a huge harvest. Merely through the trace of water attribute energy that Hellion Wuxi had left in his Dantian, he was able to comprehend it. Moreover, it naturally merged with the profound ice qi. Following Chen Hao's thoughts, the 2 types of energy that were originally of the same origin could actually be converted at will. What made Chen Hao even more pleasantly surprised was that this kind of gentle, and nourishing water attribute energy possessed an extremely shocking healing effect. In less than 4 hours, all the injuries on Chen Hao's body had completely disappeared. Moreover, Chen Hao clearly felt that there was a trace of subtle change in his state of mind. It was as if his senses towards the energy of heaven and earth had become even more sensitive. With every breath he took, he could sense the faint water attribute energy. This kind of feeling was very wonderful. It made Chen Hao's body and mind feel as if they had merged into heaven and earth, and he could feel the pulse of heaven and earth. Unknowingly, a trace of understanding appeared in Chen Hao's heart. Bang! Without any warning, Chen Hao struck out with his palm. The fiery red and violent yuan qi instantly surged out. But it was only for a moment. As if it had turned into a nimble and gentle flame, its speed instantly slowed down. It was like a gentle breeze blowing over the surface of the water, gently hitting the solid rock wall, seemingly without any destructive power. But at this moment, Chun Hao's palm suddenly trembled. Boom! The gentle waves suddenly turned into roiling waves of anger, fiercely slamming against the stone wall. Immediately, stone fragments swirled in the air. The entire training room violently shook several times following Chun Hao's palm. Junior brother. Xiao Mei, who was sitting cross-legged on Chun Hao's bed, felt the huge commotion coming from the cultivation room. She immediately pushed open the door to the cultivation room. When she saw the spirited Chun Hao, she said in surprise, "Your injuries have healed?" "More or less. I'll definitely be fine tomorrow." "I think you'll be fine now." Xiao Mei stared at the stone fragments that had yet to scatter, as well as the deep palm print on the wall. Her charming eyes carried a trace of surprise as she said this. Low-key, low-key. Senior sister, they should be back. Let's go eat, you support me." Xiao Mei curled her lips, but still held on to Chun Hao's arm. The more she interacted with him, the more Xiao Mei felt that Chun Hao's astonishing talent, especially the talent of his physical body. It was far beyond what ordinary people could reach. Xiao Mei naturally understood Chun Hao's meaning, so she could only follow along with this guy's act. Of course, she was quite satisfied that Chun Hao didn't act in front of her. "Awesome brother, you're my idol. Hellion Wuxia was even taken care of by you. You're really too awesome." When Chun Hao and Xiao Mei rushed to the dining room, Xiao Jishan, this boorish man, had a face full of admiration and envy as he grabbed Chun Hao's shoulder and praised him. "Xiang Hao, you're the best." He, Lil Ling, and the other girls also did not hesitate to surround him and praise him. The taciturn Xiao Jifei's eyes also shone with admiration. Some of the inner disciples of the Xiao family also came over and asked about Chun Hao's injuries. Unlike Chun Hao, who was like the moon surrounded by stars, Xiao Jihan, who also won, had a gloomy face. Only a few followers were by his side, and all of them were gloomy. "Xiang Hao, are your injuries better?" At this moment Xiao Ding walked in. After seeing Chun Hao, his face shone with joy and undisguised concern as he asked this. Everyone immediately dispersed obediently and went to their seats. "I'm better. Thank you for your concern, Patriarch." "That's good. Although you tied with Hellion Wuxia today, it was purely a fluke. In future battles, others will be wary of that secret technique of yours. Don't take any more risks." "Yes," Chun Hao replied. While Chun Hao and the others were eating, in the city lord's mansion master Li Ran's room, Li Ran was sitting on both sides of a chessboard with a smile on his face. "It's been 10 years, 1 month, and 8 days since we last met. I didn't expect Brother Xiao to be even more outstanding than before. The secret to longevity is indeed worthy of its reputation." The old man sitting opposite Li Ran was none other than the Xiao family's ancestor, Elder Xiao. "Brotherly, you have a good memory. No matter how strong the secret to longevity is, it can't compare to your spiritual cultivation sutra. Hee. Tell me, you're holed up in that place, refusing to come even when you're called out. You definitely don't visit without a reason, right? Could it be for that little fellow Xiao Xianghao? You don't have to hide it. I just happened to discover. Mysterious Ice Chi. Hee. I think he comprehended it in your elemental spirit cave. This little fellow is more powerful than you think." Li Ran saw Elder Zhao's stunned expression when he mentioned Chun Hao, so he continued with a smile. "Brotherly, how did you discover it? How is it more powerful than I thought?" Elder Xiao asked in surprise. "I'm at least a 7th grade spiritual sage. Is it strange that I discovered it? You don't have to worry, other than me, no one else will discover it. As for why I said he's more powerful than you think, that's because this little fellow's innate psychokinesis is comparable to a spiritual sage." "What? How is that possible?" Elder Xiao was so shocked that he almost jumped up when he heard Li Ran's words. "I also think it's impossible, but that's the truth." Li Ran frowned. Martial artists and spiritual sages, although different paths lead to the same goal, there's still a huge difference. Furthermore, before reaching the martial saint level, they're like fire and water. If this little fellow hadn't started cultivating as a martial artist, it wouldn't be strange. However, he's already at the martial master level. How can his innate psychokinesis still exist? Innate psychokinesis was the spiritual root that Elder Xiao had mentioned to Chun Hao before. Everyone was born with psychokinesis, but there were strong and weak ones. Only when one's psychokinesis reached a certain level could one be called a person with spiritual roots. When this kind of person started cultivating as a martial artist, the tempering of their physical body would not be able to erase their psychokinesis. They would only be able to temporarily force it into the depths of their brain, which was also the upper dantian. When they stepped into the martial ancestor level and had perfect control over their yuan li, they would be able to start tempering the most mysterious part of their brain. At that time, the innate psychokinesis hidden in their brain would be of great use. As for martial artists who didn't have spiritual roots, they were people who were born with weaker psychokinesis. Once they started cultivating as a martial artist, their psychokinesis would be too weak and would be erased by the sliver of yuan li that entered their brain. Therefore, it was impossible for this kind of person to temper the most mysterious part of the human body, the brain. However, even though Chun Hao had started cultivating as a martial artist, his innate psychokinesis wasn't forced into the depths of his brain. Instead, it could be displayed with his mind. Elder Xiao wasn't the only one who was shocked. Even Li Ran, who was a spiritual sage, found it unbelievable. How long did he last during the spiritual roots test? Li Ran asked as he stared at Elder Xiao. About 4 hours. 4 hours. Li Ran frowned slightly and said, "He's not considered very strong. He barely met the requirements to become a spiritual sage. This is really strange. Could it be that when he tempered his physical body, his psychokinesis could also increase on its own?" Li Ran and Elder Xiao really couldn't figure it out, and it was impossible for them to figure it out. Although Chun Hao's physical body was strong in the past, he was still an ordinary youth. It was only because of his childhood experiences and the obsession in his heart that he possessed a psychokinesis that surpassed ordinary people. However, that kind of psychokinesis was considered an extremely ordinary existence compared to the requirements to become a spiritual sage. However, the current Chun Hao wasn't the simple youth he used to be. He was the fusion of two souls. It was also because of the soul fusion that almost tore the soul apart, as well as the mysterious fusion, that there was today's Chun Hao. Elder Xiao was speechless. He had to admit that Li Ran's discovery was really too shocking for him. "Brother Xiao, tell me what you want first. I think it's definitely not a small matter. Otherwise, you wouldn't have come to look for me. However, as long as I can help, I will definitely help you. However, I knew you wouldn't lose out." Elder Xiao said, "However what? Tell me." "Haha, give that little fellow to me." Li Ran laughed lightly and immediately demanded an exorbitant price. "What? You're dreaming. Li Ran, we've been friends for so many years. Don't tell me you want to extort me? Alright, since you've said this, I'll take a step back. We'll nurture this little fellow together, how about that? In name, he's a member of your Xiao family. Do as you see fit. If you agree, tell me what you want. I guarantee that I'll do my best to do it. If you don't agree, leave the money for the tea. It's a total of 3 copper coins, and you can leave." Li Ran stared at Elder Xiao and said unquestionably, "Why don't you go rob a bank? You want me to pay 3 copper coins for a mouthful of inferior tea?" Elder Xiao was so angry that he immediately pointed at Li Ran's nose and said, "If this scene was seen by the cultivators in Cloud State City, they would be so shocked that their eyeballs would fall to the ground. One had to know that these two people were like gods in the eyes of the cultivators in Cloud State. Especially Li Ran. He was the undisputed #1 expert. But now, these two respected figures were more like old men haggling in the market. Ready to pay for the tea? Seeing Elder Xiao's appearance, Li Ran smiled slightly and said indifferently as if he didn't care, "You win." Elder Xiao gloomily sat down again and glared at Li Ran. He finished the tea in his cup in one gulp, and just as he put down the cup, under the control of Li Ran's telekinesis, the teapot in front of him was filled to the brim. 6 copper coins. Chapter 53. It's that serious? When Elder Xiao told him that Xiao Jihan's family was the Dongfang family, one of the three major families in the Jinyuan kingdom, as well as the Dongfang family's attempt to take over the Xiao family's elemental spirit cave, Li Ran frowned. Li Ran, you don't have to do this with me, okay? If you can help me settle this, I'll give you half of that kid. He'll be the Xiao family's in name, but he can also be your guild of intentions. Do as you see fit. If it wasn't for the fact that I can't deal with this matter, I wouldn't want to see a sanctimonious person like you for the rest of my life. Elder Xiao said without leaving any face for him. Cough cough. Li Ran's face turned red. Xiao, can you not say such nasty things? This matter is really serious. The Dongfang family, they're just characters abandoned by the Dongfang family. How can the Dongfang family scheme over a mere elemental spirit cave? They can just come and take it. That's true, but they've already climbed up the Dongfang family tree. As long as the Dongfang family comes and wants to take over the elemental spirit cave and cripple Xiao Ding and you'll resist, right? Destroy them? After destroying them, they'll pull out an even stronger existence. What will happen in the end? Li Ran asked. Do I need you to tell me that? Otherwise, why would I look for you? Elder Xiao said. Seeing that Li Ran was still frowning, he hesitated and said, Is it really difficult? Elder Xiao knew that Li Ran was not only the city lord of Cloud State City, but also the #1 expert in Cloud State. Most importantly, he had another identity. He was the president of the Guild of Intentions stationed in Cloud State City. Without this identity, Elder Xiao would not have come to find Li Ran at all, because Li Ran could not help him. Intentions were existences on the level of pandas in the Jinyuan kingdom. In terms of numbers, they could not be compared to martial artists who had simple entry requirements. However, after reaching a certain level, the various magical powers of intentions were far from what martial artists could compare to. Therefore, in any country, intentions were highly valued. However, the early stage intentions were too weak compared to martial artists. In the cultivation world where the strong preyed on the weak, they could die at any time. It was precisely because of this that the Guild of Intentions was formed. The Intent Guild was the powerful backing of the Intent Guild. It united the small number of Intent Guild members into one. This force was an extremely powerful existence in the entire Jinyuan kingdom. Moreover, it was heavily supported and protected by the kingdom. Let's be clear first, I'm not trying to extort you this time. Li Ran regained his serious expression. Your Xiao clan's crisis this time isn't something you and I can resolve. After all, it involves the Dongfang family's family. You have to know that any family is extremely protective of their own and cares about their reputation. But when the intentions is the face of the Dong family, of intentions, for the sake of their reputation, the Dongfang family will definitely take action. Sigh. This is also the reason why we can't afford to offend the big families. In front of them, the weak have no reason to reason. You're right. Elder Xiao frowned deeply and sighed. I've already thought of this and prepared for the worst. Actually, I didn't expect you to help me with this matter. After all, the Guild of Intentions won't go against the Dongfang family for a small family like our Xiao family. I'm here to tell you that the Xiao family is only the beginning. Cloud State City will probably belong to Dongfang Wankai in the future. Dongfang Wankai was Xiao Jihan's father, and the head of the Dongfang family, the richest family in Cloud State. Elder Xiao was very clear that since he had climbed up the Dongfang family's branch and decided to use the Xiao family as an example, it was impossible for him to stop. The second to act would probably be the Helian family who owned the Tianyuan cave. Fortunately, you came to find me, and fortunately, Dongfang Wankai hasn't acted yet. What do you mean? Elder Xiao was startled by Li Ran's words, and he instantly asked in surprise. I hope it's not too late. Whether or not we can save the Xiao family depends on that little fellow. Li Ran stared at Elder Xiao and said, You mean Xiang Hao? That's right. 3 days later, the round-robin matches for the top 5 had finally ended. Helian Yiqing, Xiao Jihan, Mo Yui and Sima Jianyun, as well as the other 5 contestants who were in the top 10, had won all their matches and obtained first place in their group. Only the seventh group, Helian Wuxia and Chun Hao, were still tied for first place after the group matches ended. Both of them won all their matches in the next few matches. Everyone had already expected this when Helian Wuxia and Chun Hao fought to a draw, so it wasn't strange at all. The top 10 had become the top 11. The anticipated battle of the pinnacle had finally arrived. In the entire martial arts arena, there were 3 matches that everyone looked forward to the most. The first match was the battle between Chun Hao and Helian Wuxia. Without a doubt, the two of them who had advanced to the top 11 would have a chance to fight again. Ever since that day when she received Chun Hao's humiliation, Helian Wuxia seemed to have changed into a different person. On her absolutely beautiful little face, there was no longer any fluctuation of emotions. No one heard her say half a word again. Her entire person seemed to have turned into a piece of 10,000-year-old ice. Even the people closest to her were infected by that kind of cold indifference that kept people 1,000 miles away and didn't dare to speak to her. One could imagine how big of a blow Chun Hao had dealt her. Therefore, one could imagine how crazy Helian Wuxia would be when she met Chun Hao again. The other match that everyone looked forward to the most was still Chun Hao's. That was the battle between Xiao Jihan and Chun Hao. The life and death battle between the two of them was no longer a secret. Everyone knew that as long as they met in the martial arts competition, it would be a life and death battle between the two of them. This was destined to be an exciting and cruel battle. And the third match that everyone looked forward to the most was still related to Chun Hao. It was the battle between Helian Yiqing and Chun Hao. As Helian Wuxia's fiancé, his wife had been molested in front of tens of thousands of people. Any man wouldn't let Chun Hao off, let alone Helian Yiqing, this kind of proud son of God. But face, Xiao Xianghao is really your brother. When Chun Hao and the other contestants went up to the stage to draw lots after the referee gave the order, a 12 or 13-year-old youth in the Li family's camp asked an honest-looking youth with a bruised nose and a swollen face beside him. This youth was Buttface. His nickname was due to his mother's sharp cheers during the Li family's test. This made Buttface a celebrity among the Li family's new disciples. Of course it's true. Xiao Xianghao is brother Tianxi. He's my best friend, my best brother. Buttface's originally small eyes were only a slit because of his swollen face, but his voice was unquestionable and full of pride. He looked as if he was Chun Hao who had advanced to the top 11. Then why don't you go and look for him? No. How can I let brother Tianxi see me like this? I'll embarrass brother Tianxi. Aren't you standing up for him and taking a beating? The others were just casually talking about it. Do you have to? That won't do. I'll fight anyone who talks bad about brother Tianxi. It's time to draw lots. First update. Please add recommend. Chapter 54. Hee. Just as everyone was paying attention to Chun Hao and the others starting to draw lots, a soft laugh suddenly drifted over. The sound was very soft, but what surprised everyone was that this voice clearly entered everyone's ears. I didn't expect a small city like Cloud State to be so lively. The person who laughed said gently, but his words were condescending and domineering. It was as if the entire Cloud State was like an ant in his eyes. Almost instantly, everyone in the martial arts venue frowned. They even stopped drawing lots and looked at the entrance of the martial arts venue. There was no doubt that the person who came was an expert, to be able to suppress the entire martial arts arena so easily. Perhaps other than those experts on the rostrum, there were not many people who could do it. He's finally here. Xiao Jihan, who was standing on the main stage, saw a familiar figure. All the worries in his heart were swept away. He, who had been suppressing himself for a long time, showed an unconcealable surprise and arrogance on his face. He's here. Li Ran, who was sitting in the middle of the main stage, thought to himself. His expression did not change as he slowly stood up. He glanced at Dongfang Wangkai, who was following behind the young man in his 20s, and the dozen or so young disciples who were full of energy and arrogance. He cupped his fist and said politely, I'm Li Ran, the Cloud State's City Lord, Master of the Dongfang clan. These guests are? City Lord Li. This is Master Dongfang Zan of the Dongfang clan, one of the 3 great clans of the Jinyuan Kingdom. He's only 22 years old, And he's at the peak of the 9th grade martial emperor. He's only half a step away from becoming a martial emperor. You can't call us master of the Dongfang clan in front of Master Dongfang. We're just a small branch of the Dongfang clan in Cloud State. It's not worth mentioning. Dongfang Wankai did not hide his flattery. His fat face was smiling like a blooming chrysanthemum. He did not forget to flatter Li Ran as he introduced them. What? This? How is this possible? The Dongfang clan? Is it really the Dongfang clan of the 3 great clans of the kingdom? They're indeed powerful. They're already a 9th grade martial emperor at such a young age. No wonder they're so arrogant. So they're from the Dongfang clan. Dongfang Wankai is a branch of the Dongfang clan. This is unbelievable. Dongfang Wangsai's words caused an uproar in the arena. Even the influential figures in Yunzhou on the rostrum were shocked. No one would have thought that Dongfang Wankai was actually a branch of the Dongfang family in Cloud State City. No one would have thought that someone from the Dongfang family would come to the small Cloud State City. The expressions of the people who were glaring angrily at the start immediately changed completely. Even Helian Lei and the others were no exception. Who would dare to offend the Dongfang family, one of the top 3 families in the Jinyuan kingdom? Who could afford to offend him? So it's young Master Dongfang from the Dongfang family. We're honored by your presence. Please let me in. Bring them to the VIP seats. Li Ran hurriedly said politely, but he didn't show much enthusiasm. He just asked the guard to lead him to the VIP seats. Dongfang Zan's eyes flashed with a trace of displeasure. He glanced at Li Ho, but did not dare to fly into a rage. Li Ran was the lord of a city after all. Although it was just a small county, Li Ran's intentions could not be hidden from Dongfang Zan's eyes. These are the top 10 of the Yunzhou martial meet? Dongfang Zan and a dozen other people swaggered to the VIP seats not far from the rostrum. Originally, some of the VIPs didn't even need Li Ran's instructions and gave up their seats. After sitting down, Dongfang Zan's gaze slowly swept past Chun Hao and the others who had already started drawing lots. His eyes narrowed slightly and stopped at Helian Wuxia as he asked, "Yes, young master. However, because there are 2 people in a group who are tied, there is now 11th place. Young master, that young lady is known as the number 1 genius beauty in Yunzhou, Helian Wuxia. The one standing at 6th place is my son, Dongfang Han." "Oh, not bad, not bad." Dongfang Zan didn't even look at Xiao Jihan. His gaze was locked onto Helian Wuxi's graceful figure, as he praised in a low voice. Dongfang Wankai, this old fox, naturally understood what Dongfang Zan meant by not bad. He immediately said in a low voice, "As long as young master likes it, in this small Cloud State city, no one dares to offend young master." Leave it to me." Dongfang Zan nodded slightly. He was satisfied with Dongfang Wangsai's shrewdness and consideration. "Young master, about my son. Don't worry, with me here, what else can happen to him?" Yes, that's good, that's good." It had to be said that Dongfang Wankai did have some skills to be able to become the richest man in Yunzhou without any martial arts. He had been working for many years to climb up the Dongfang family's branch. With his powerful financial resources and excellent foresight, he finally opened the gate not long ago and took down Dongfang Zan. That was why he, who was so far away, became a branch of the Dongfang family. To be able to invite Dongfang Zan to Yunzhou, he had sold all the good things in Yunzhou. Xiao Jihan's speed of improvement in half a year, the Xiao family's elemental spirit cave, the Helian family's Tianyuan cave, and of course, the number of beauties in Yunzhou. In Dongfang Wangsai's eyes, there was no fortress that couldn't be conquered. Everyone had a weakness, and with a weakness he could take it down. And now he had done it. The drawing of lots was completed very quickly. Chun Hao was in the 5th round. The first to go up was the number 1 genius of the Mo family, Mo Yui, and a relatively weaker contestant. "Are you really not worried at all?" Xiao Mei whispered to Chun Hao as she glanced at Xiao Jihan, who had already walked to the VIP seats to greet Dongfang Zan. "Is there any use in worrying?" Chun Hao's eyes flashed with a trace of coldness as he replied. Even Chun Hao didn't expect that Xiao Jihan's family would actually climb up the Dongfang family, one of the 3 great families of the Jinyuan kingdom. What did it mean for them to rush over at this time? This made Chun Hao feel an unprecedented pressure. There was no time when he craved power more than now. He needed power, and needed to become stronger. Only then would he not be threatened. Only then would he be able to firmly grasp his own fate in his own hands. At this moment, even Chun Hao felt that his future was bleak. Especially when he saw the faces of those who had succumbed to Dongfang Zan's abuse of power. He deeply understood how powerful the Dongfang family was. This wasn't something that he could contend against at this moment. My fate is in my own hands. The words that he had said to Xiao Mei a few days ago now seemed like a joke. His only hope was actually placed on someone else. This made him, who was born with pride and arrogance, feel extremely humiliated. 3 days ago, Elder Xiao had found him alone and secretly brought him to meet Li Ran. Although the two of them didn't tell him the exact situation, they only told him not to feel any psychological pressure when facing Xiao Jihan. They also told him to perform well in the competition and not to hide anything. However, Chun Hao knew that the severity of the situation had exceeded his expectations. He, or rather the Xiao family, and even the entire Yunzhou were facing a huge crisis. The spearhead was directed at Xiao Jihan. Chun Hao realized it, but he couldn't understand how Xiao Jihan, or rather, Xiao Jihan's family, could be so powerful. Now that he saw Dongfang Zan's appearance, Chun Hao finally understood. Clap, clap, clap. Not bad at all. On the stage in the third round, after Helian Wuxi blasted Sima Jianyun out of the stage with one move, Dongfang Zan actually clapped his hands and praised her from the VIP seats. So what if he was praising her? His voice was heard by everyone in the arena. Especially when he looked at Helian Wuxi, his gaze carried a trace of passion that anyone could see. Helian Wuxi, right? Your aptitude is not bad. I like it very much. Come to our Dongfang family. This small Yunzhou is really a waste of your talent. What made everyone even more surprised was that Dongfang Zan actually threw out such a huge olive branch. What kind of concept was entering the Dongfang family? Although many people could see that Dongfang Zan obviously didn't have good intentions, many people thought that if they were in his shoes, they would definitely agree immediately. Even some female disciples were no exception. They couldn't wait to replace Helian Wuxi and agree immediately. They were even more jealous of Helian Wuxi's looks, however. Most of the gazes that looked at Dongfang Zan were filled with disdain and anger, but they didn't dare to say anything. Blatant trash. Chun Hao coldly scolded in a low voice. Xiao Mei also frowned slightly. The gaze that she looked at Dongfang Zan with was obviously filled with fear, but the disdain was even stronger. As for the Helian family's head Helian Lei, he frowned slightly. This guy who had always been arrogant actually swallowed his anger. Similarly, although Helian Yiqing's fiancé was so angry that veins were popping out of his face, and his entire body was trembling, he was like a tortoise withdrawing its head and enduring. It's really a fucking ninja turtle. The more Chun Hao looked, the angrier he got. He couldn't help but curse. Luckily, his voice wasn't loud. Just when everyone was staring at Helian Wuxi, wanting to see what Helian Wuxi would say, they didn't expect that Helian Wuxi's ice-cold and emotionless face actually didn't change in the slightest. Her footsteps didn't even slow down in the slightest. She walked down the stage just like that, as if she didn't hear Dongfang Zan's words at all, completely treating them as farts. However, wherever Helian Wuxi passed, it was as if it had instantly entered winter. The dense icy aura caused the air around her to distort. Her long hair danced without wind. Everyone could see that it wasn't that Helian Wuxi didn't hear it, but that she chose to blatantly ignore it. Dongfang Zan frowned slightly, but the heat in his eyes became even stronger. Hee, young master. You probably don't know, but Helian Wuxi is the fiancée of the Helian family's young master. She probably can't help it. Moreover, it's said that she was provoked by Xiao Xianghao 2 days ago in the competition, and became a bit abnormal. Dongfang Wankai didn't miss the opportunity to say. The words that he said not only stabbed the Helian family, but also stabbed Chun Hao. Haha, this is even more interesting. I like it. Dongfang Zan narrowed his eyes, and was already staring at Helian Wuxi. His gaze became even more heated as he spoke. Even he didn't think that the small Yunzhou would actually have such a stunning beauty. He felt that he was really too lucky to come here this time. Under the excitement, he actually didn't hide his lustful heart anymore. This caused the majority of the people in the martial arts arena, especially Hellion Wuxia supporters, to rage in their hearts. At this moment Li Ran, who was originally amiable, suddenly let out a cold snort. A majestic spiritual energy instantly enveloped the area. His eyes looked towards Dongfang Zan and said, "Young Master Dongfang, we Yunzhou people respect you as a disciple of the Dongfang family, but we don't welcome scum like you. I believe that if your Dongfang family knows that you've tarnished the family's reputation, they won't let you off. Get out immediately." Hua! The usually amiable Li Ran suddenly faced Dongfang Zan directly and said such refreshing words. Instantly, the entire martial arts arena exploded into an uproar. "What did you say?" Dongfang Zan also didn't think that there would be someone in the small Yunzhou who dared to challenge him. Even if he was dead, even Li Ran would turn a blind eye to him. Hence, after hearing Li Ran's words, this arrogant fellow instantly stood up like a mad dog whose tail had been stepped on. He pointed at Li Ran and roared sharply. Second update. Please help me collect this. If you don't have a collection, please recommend it. Thank you. Chapter 55. I said, I don't welcome scum like you who tarnishes the Dongfang family's reputation. Get out. Li Ran said coldly. Under his rage, the pressure of his mental energy made everyone feel as if they couldn't breathe. It was as if a huge mountain was pressing down on their hearts. Ha ha ha. Dongfang Zan was so angry that he started laughing. His eyes stared fiercely at Li Ran and said, "You, a little city lord, actually dare to tell this young master to get out? You actually dare to say that this young master is the scum of the Dongfang family? Ha ha ha. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Even if I, Dongfang Zan, am the scum of the Dongfang family, it should be said by the people of the Dongfang family. Who do you think you are? Isn't she just a little beauty? This young master has taken a liking to her. It's fine if you don't give her to me, but you actually dare to stop me? Ha ha ha. Old man, aren't you just a little emperor of will? You don't even put our Dongfang family in your eyes. You really have monstrous guts. Get out." Li Ran was so angry that smoke was coming out of his 7 orifices. His tyrannical mental energy suddenly burst out from his body. He coldly stared at Dongfang Zan and said again, without a doubt, if it wasn't for Dongfang Zan's identity, Li Ran would have definitely smashed his face into pieces with a punch. "What? You want to fight? Come hit me. Haha. Come, hit me. This young master wants to see what you dare to do to me. Haha, come, hit me here. I'm so scared." Dongfang Zan was a 9th-rank martial king. In the Cloud State City, he could definitely be considered an expert on the same level as Xiao Ding and the other family heads. However, in front of Li Ran, this divine will, he was nothing. But in front of the enraged Li Ran, he didn't hold back at all. As he spoke, he even stood up and stretched his face closer to Li Ran, displaying the shamelessness of a hedonistic disciple to the extreme. Haha, City Lord Li, you're in the wrong here. People shouldn't get muddle-headed as they get older, and shouldn't let their emotions affect their decisions. Young Master is a magnanimous person. As long as the people of Yunzhou perform well, he won't be calculative. It's a great blessing for Hellion Wuxia to enter the Dongfang clan. Also, the Yuan Spirit Cave of the Xiao clan, and the Tianyuan Cave of the Hellion clan. Young Master is also interested in the Xiao clan's Yuan Spirit Cave, and the Xiao clan's Tianyuan Cave. Oh right, the disciple of the Xiao clan called Xiao Xianghao, kill him too. Dongfang Wangkai saw that Li Ran was so angry that his face was twitching, but he didn't dare to touch Dongfang Zan. He sighed in his heart. It was awesome to have a backer. Dongfang Zan was only a 9th-grade martial king, but the #1 expert of Yunzhou City, the Emperor of Intentions Li Ran, could only grit his teeth and swallow his anger. Li Ran's expression became more and more unsightly. Originally, he had already discussed with old Xiao about how to deal with this. As long as he endured for a few days and waited for the big shots of the Intentions Guild to arrive, Everything would be easily settled as long as they took a fancy to Chen Hao. However, the news had already spread for 4 days, and the big shots of the Intentions Guild still hadn't arrived. Instead, Dongfang Zan arrived first. It was fine if he arrived first. It was fine if he was arrogant. It was fine if he could tolerate it. However, in front of all the cultivators of Yunzhou, he actually dared to flirt with Helian Wuxia without any taboo. He completely treated the people of Yunzhou as air. How could Li Ran, the city lord, put his face? How could he tolerate it? However, looking at Dongfang Zan's arrogant face, Li Ran couldn't back down. The instigator, Dongfang Wangkai, made Li Ran want to cut him into pieces. However, could Li Ran do it? Fight. Li Ran knew that once he made a move, the Intentions Guild would have to pay a much higher price to help him. Although the Intentions Guild was rare, and Chen Hao's strange talent of combining intent and martial arts was unheard of. What if the Intentions Guild didn't care about this talent? The consequences would be unimaginable. Do you want me to die? Just when Li Ran was filled with righteous indignation and didn't know what to do, a cold voice suddenly sounded from the edge of the main stage. The voice wasn't loud, but it was clearly heard by the people who had gathered their Dantian's origin energy. Xianghao. Xiao Mei was so frightened that she immediately grabbed Chen Hao's wrist. Chen Hao held Xiao Mei's wrist tightly. His handsome face was filled with arrogance and coldness. Boom! Before Xiao Mei could stop him, Chen Hao suddenly stepped on the ground and shot up into the sky. He charged towards Dongfang Zan and Dongfang Wangkai at an unbelievable speed. Chen Hao's sudden action was out of everyone's expectations. However, he didn't give them time to be shocked. His speed was too fast, so fast that most of them couldn't even see Chen Hao's figure clearly. Even Chen Hao himself didn't know why. When Dongfang Wangkai said all the conditions to threaten Li Ran, he couldn't suppress the anger in his heart. He felt as though he was about to be burned. A strong desire exploded in the core of his mind. At that moment, he felt as though he was about to explode. His body was suddenly filled with boundless energy. The entire world seemed to have frozen, and time seemed to have stopped. Kill, 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 kill. Dongfang Wangcai's despicable and shameless face had completely ignited the killing intent in Chen Hao's heart. It was even more intense than Dongfang Zan's. At least Dongfang Zan was still a member of the Dongfang family. He had the right to be arrogant. However, Dongfang Wangcai's disgusting face that wanted to stir up trouble with his rotten mouth and despicable methods, especially when he said that he would kill him, made Chen Hao burn with anger. Boom! Maybe it was because Chen Hao's actions were too unexpected, or maybe it was because they were shocked by Chen Hao's arrogant aura, or maybe it was because Chen Hao's speed was too fast. In any case, even Li Ran, the mental saint, didn't have time to react. A red and white sticky substance appeared in front of everyone's eyes, accompanied by a dull explosion. The 9th grade martial king Dongfang Zan was shocked by Chen Hao's aura. His face was covered in blood and brain matter, and he quickly retreated. A fat and headless body was like a kite with a broken string. It drew a beautiful arc and landed on the ground with a bang. Screams and screams suddenly erupted at this moment. Some of the younger female disciples even covered their mouths in fright. Helian Wuxia's emotionless eyes actually shone with a strange splendor at this moment. She stared blankly at the youth who humiliated her. Father! Xiao Jihan, who was extremely proud of himself, suddenly screamed in anger and grief. He charged towards the headless body. You're courting death. Dongfang Zan, whose face was pale, finally regained his senses. With a loud shout, he attacked Chen Hao with violent origin power. Dongfang Zan was really frightened. A dignified 9th grade martial king was actually frightened by a mere martial master like Chen Hao. He was so frightened that he only thought of dodging, and didn't have any consciousness to save Dongfang Wangkai, who was right beside him. Stop! Li Ran, who had also just regained his senses, suddenly shouted and grabbed at the void. Suddenly, a sharp crystal light condensed out of thin air, and with a buzzing sound, it blasted towards Dongfang Zan as fast as lightning. Boom! How could Dongfang Zan, who was only a 9th grade martial king, block the anxious attack of the #1 expert in Yunzhou, who was also a 7th grade martial emperor? Although they were far apart, Li Ran still sent Dongfang Zan flying with one move. Brat, are you crazy? After sending out that attack, Li Ran's body was like lightning. Boundless mental energy covered Chun Hao and pulled back Chun Hao, who seemed to have gone crazy. However, even Li Ran's heart trembled when he saw the fury in Chun Hao's eyes. How could the aura of a 4th-grade martial master reach such a frightening level? Aura was one of the most proficient methods of intent. Boundless mental energy pressure was the best way to intimidate the opponent. However, Li Ran could clearly feel that the arrogant aura that Chun Hao had just emitted was not mental energy. Instead, it was an aura that came from his bones and soul. An aura that didn't contain any energy, a pure aura. Good. Haha. Just at this moment, a loud and clear voice of an old man suddenly resounded in the sky. An earth-shattering pressure rolled in, causing the entire martial arts arena to be in an uproar. Immediately, everyone looked towards the sky in fear. Even the furious Dongfang Zan, Chun Hao, who seemed to have lost his mind, and Xiao Jihan, who was similarly driven mad by the sudden change of events, all looked towards the sky without exception. A figure emitting boundless majesty appeared. He had white hair and a white beard, and he had the demeanor of an immortal. His eyes were shining with a bright light that made people not dare to look at him directly. Just his eyes were enough to make the sun lose its splendor. Behind this figure, several young male and female disciples were also flying in the sky. Their gazes were all locked onto Chun Hao without exception. Pre-PRI President? The instant Li Ran saw the old man, his voice trembled, and he stuttered as he called out. Immediately after, he knelt on the ground and said with incomparable excitement, "Subordinate Li Ran of Yunzhou pays his respects to the president." When Dongfang Zan saw the person who had come, his face instantly turned extremely ugly. He tightly clenched his fists, but he didn't dare to do anything else. "Stand up." An invisible force gently lifted Li Ran up. The old man looked at Chun Hao and said, "Little fellow, you are the disciple of the Xiao family, Xiao Xianghao, right?" First update. This chapter has been written and deleted, and it took me a long time to finish it. Without a draft, it's really hard to set the update time to a small range. Thanks to yesterday's Chuanliang Wuzi, passionate love Emocie Mucie, tragedy, wind blows the rain comes, tadpoles in the sea, plants versus zombies, maple farewell night, and purple moon orchid. Also, student Wu Chen 369, you are also an old reader who supports Dark Mountain. You should know what a new book needs. The review you posted, if it was an ordinary person, would definitely have been banned and deleted, because it would affect the students who have not started reading it yet. Therefore, I only blocked the post from you. Is there a need to spend money to review Black Raven Mountain? This book is not the kind of novel that will explode with excitement right from the start. It's fine if you don't like it. But as an old reader, is there really a need for you to directly change the rating from 10 to 9? 8. It's not easy for every author. Dark Mountain, who writes at a tortoise's speed, is even more difficult. I sincerely hope that if you like it, you can stay and support it. If you don't like it, you can quietly leave. This is also a form of support for the author. A book cannot possibly suit everyone's taste. I hope that you can understand more. Also, there are often female genes in the book review section. How can there be a man? How can the deepest sea on Earth be 50,000 meters deep? I only want to say that this book is a fantasy. Li Yuan's time on Earth is also the future. Genes are just a general concept. If you can't do it now, does it mean you can't do it in the future? The word clone is indeed wrong. Dark Mountain has already changed it. As for the deep sea trench, please don't use the depth of the trench found now to measure the future. What is the radius of Earth? 6,000 kilometers, which is about 6 million meters. There are still countless areas in the ocean that have not been explored. 50,000 meters? I hope that in the future, such book reviews will not appear again. Otherwise, I will delete the ban. If it affects other people's reading, it will also affect our results. Thank you, everyone. Chapter 56. Yes, Senior. Chun Hao's expression was solemn, and his eyes shone with a trace of shock and fervor. He quickly withdrew his arrogant aura and cupped his fists respectfully. Very good, very good. The old man's eyes shone with a breathtaking light as he glanced at Chen Hao. He stroked his long beard and nodded repeatedly. At this moment, all eyes in the entire martial arts arena were focused on the old man, Chen Hao, and the few young disciples who came with the old man. Although most people only knew that the old man's identity was definitely unimaginably powerful from Li Ran's excited and respectful kneeling, they didn't know how powerful he was. Especially the disciples of the Shao family, who didn't even know who the old man was. But there was no doubt that the aura of the old man and his few young disciples intimidated everyone with just their appearance. They didn't know how high the old man's cultivation was, but those few young disciples looked to be at most 20 years old, yet they were able to fly in the air. Just this point alone made the various patriarchs and elders of the various large clans on the rostrum blush with shame. And the most excited person was Li Ran. Especially when he saw the old man look at Chen Hao approvingly and say very good, very good. He was so excited that he was about to float. This was the president of the Jinyuan Kingdom's Guild of Intentions. What was the level of his cultivation? Peak martial sage, or martial god? Li Ran didn't know. The only thing he knew was that there were no more than one person in the Jinyuan Kingdom who could match the president. In any case, Li Ran didn't expect the president to come personally. A few days ago, he just quickly reported Chen Hao's situation to the headquarters of the Guild of Intentions. As long as the headquarters sent a slightly more powerful person and took a fancy to Chen Hao, this crisis would be resolved. But he didn't expect that the important person would be so powerful that he directly reached the top. At this moment, the old man stared at Chen Hao with a smile on his face and said gently, "Little guy, are you willing to join the Guild of Intentions?" Chen Hao already had some understanding of this. And judging from Li Ran's expression, this old man should be the president of the Guild of Intentions. Facing this olive branch that was enough to make people faint, Chen Hao should immediately agree. However, his clear eyes flashed with a hint of confusion, as if he was muttering to himself. He looked at Xiao Ding, whose face was filled with excitement, and whose body was trembling slightly. Chen Hao's behavior made Li Ran have the urge to ask for more money. What was this brat doing? You are the head of the Shao clan? Fortunately, the old man did not seem to mind. Instead, he smiled and followed Chen Hao's gaze to Xiao Ding. Yes, senior. Xiao Xianghao's original name is Chen Hao. To be able to obtain senior's favor is a blessing that he and our Shao clan have accumulated over several lifetimes. It's an extreme honor, an extreme honor. Chen Hao, why aren't you thanking senior? Xiao Ding's face was filled with excitement, as if he was afraid that a pie would fall from the sky and fly away. He stared at Chen Hao and shouted. Xiao Ding's words were very clear. He even directly restored Chen Hao's original name, without any ambiguity. Disciple Xiao Xianghao. Chen Hao greets senior. Chen Hao respectfully bowed and performed the common entrance ceremony in the cultivation world. However, Chen Hao's words were very thought-provoking. The ignorant young man naturally did not understand why Chen Hao said two names. However, Li Ran, Xiao Ding, and the other old fellows felt very comforted by Chen Hao's actions. The smile on the old man's face became even wider. No power, clan, or sect had no desire for the cultivation of their disciples. Ungrateful ingrates were the most disliked. And Chen Hao had such a performance at such a young age. It could no longer be described as simply repaying kindness. After the old man calmly accepted Chen Hao's kowtow, he stretched out his hand and held him up, saying, very good, very good. Actually, you only need to agree to join the Intent Guild. We are an organization, not a disciple. But, since you and the old man have done the apprenticeship ceremony, then the old man will make an exception and accept you as a disciple. Haha. The old man's words caused the eyeballs of Li Ran and the young disciples behind the old man to almost fall to the ground. They all widened their eyes and looked at Chen Hao, who seemed to be a little depressed, with envy and jealousy. Dongfang Zan, who did not utter a word, and even shrunk back a little, as though he was afraid of being seen by the old man, gasped in shock. He secretly cursed the 18 generations of ancestors of Dongfang Wangkai, who had already turned into a corpse. He was too fucking unlucky. Even stepping on dog shit was better than this. It was not easy to persuade that old fellow Dongfang Wangkai. He was still thinking about the countless beauties and coming out to have fun, but he did not expect to meet the president of the Intent Guild in this remote corner of the mountain that even the Dongfang family did not dare to provoke. You are from the Dongfang family? Just when Dongfang Zan and his subordinates were about to sneak away, the old man suddenly looked at them, squinted his eyes, and said calmly. Dongfang Zan and his subordinates instantly felt a chill down their spine, and they had no choice but to stop. What's your name? Wind, rain, thunder, and lightning, these 4 meridians. Which one do you belong to? What are you doing here? Dongfang Zan did not dare to raise his head under the old man's questioning, stammering as he said, President Fang, Jr. President. Young Master Dongfang Zan heard that our Cloud State martial competition was going on, and happened to pass by. So he came to take a look. Right, to take a look. Dongfang Zan hurriedly said, looking at Li Ran with a grateful gaze. He was very clear that if this President Fang Yuan told his ugly deeds to the clan leader, he would suffer a lot, but his future in Dongfang family would be affected. Although he did not have any future, Li Ran was someone who repaid evil with kindness. Even though he was a hedonistic young master, he did not have any thoughts of revenge. Instead, he was very grateful. All of his hatred was given to that damned pighead. If not for that pighead's enticement, he would not have come here. If he did not come here, he would not have met Fang Yuan when he was committing crimes. Oh. The old man, who was the president of the Intent Guild, Fang Yuan, looked at Li Ran, and after pondering for a while he said, In that case, why are you running? Is this old man very scary? Li Ran, continue the competition. Since this old man is here, let's see if your Cloud State has any talents that can be nurtured. Yes, Li Ran immediately replied excitedly, waving his hand to signal the referee to continue the competition. President Fang, brotherly, I have some urgent matters. I will not disturb you, goodbye. Dongfang Zan was not in the mood to watch the competition, and left with his tail between his legs. Before leaving, his gaze subtly looked at Hao Lian Wuxia, and he shook his head. He knew that he could not cause any more trouble in Cloud State. This little beauty who made his heart flutter could only be thrown to the back of his mind. Afraid of his revenge? After Dongfang Zan and the rest left, Fang Yuan looked at Li Ran and asked, President, this villain is hard to deal with you around. He naturally would not dare to be impudent. But if I do this, he probably won't come to Cloud State to cause trouble again. Li Ran lowered his head and said, No wonder you have stagnated at rank 7 Intent Emperor. There is no problem in enduring appropriately, but the necessary drive is a must. This little guy can kill anyone who tries to sow discord in front of a rank 9 martial emperor. This spirit, you don't have it. Is it dangerous? But he did it. What did he ask for? His thoughts were clear. He is clearly someone you hate, but you still want to help him. How can you be clear? Especially when you are the Intent Emperor. The old man said slowly, his voice was soft and calm. However, these few short sentences caused Li Ran to break out in cold sweat. Every word attacked Li Ran's nerves. The barrier that had been locked up for so many years seemed to have been lit at this moment, causing every cell in Li Ran's body to tremble. Thank you for your reminder, President. You don't need to blame yourself, as the city lord. You are doing this in consideration of Cloud State. Fang Yuan looked at Li Ran's expression and nodded, slightly gratified. Fourth match, Xiao Jihan against Helian Yiqing. When the referee announced the list of contestants, Helian Yiqing immediately jumped onto the stage. Everyone's gazes also landed on Xiao Jihan. Xiao Jihan was seen kneeling beside the headless corpse with a horrifying expression on his face. He was holding his severed neck, as if he was playing with it. It was as if he couldn't hear anyone as he muttered to himself in a mournful voice. Father, didn't you say you wanted me to dominate Cloud State? Xiao clan is ours. Helian clan is ours. We are not only the richest clan, we are also the #1 martial arts clan. We don't need to curry favor with them anymore. Father, I did well, really well. I became Xiao clan's #1 genius, And for 3 years, I was constantly trying to curry favor with Xiao Ding's precious daughter. I did really well. Xiao Bo, that old lecher, was completely bought over by us. As long as there is a genius disciple who is even a little bit of a threat, I can play with him until he is crippled. Ha ha ha. Why? Why? Everything was in my hands. Why is it over? Father, you are really trash. Why did you teach me to play tricks? With my talent, I went from rank 7 martial artist to rank 8 martial master in half a year. What can't I do? But now it's all over. Unknowingly, Xiao Jian had already arrived beside Xiao Jihan. Her face was pale and covered in tears, but she stared at Xiao Jihan in a daze. At this moment, when Xiao Jihan said it himself, she finally understood that what her father, old man Xiao, Chen Hao, and the others had said was true. She did not hate Xiao Jihan, she only hated herself for being too naive. Boom! A resplendent scarlet light flashed, and Xiao Jihan's hand suddenly turned scarlet red. Chi-Chi, what made everyone dumbfounded was that Xiao Jihan actually seemed to have gone mad as he used his hand, which was filled with essence force, to repeatedly stab his father's fat corpse. After stabbing it a few times, pooh! Screams rang out one after another. Even Chen Hao could not help but narrow his eyes. No one expected Xiao Jihan to stab his own throat and end his life with his own hands. P.S. Please add this to your collection and recommend. Thank you. Chapter 57. He deserved it, he deserved it. I really couldn't tell how ambitious he was. It's too easy for someone like him to die just like that. Yeah, he's really sinister. Luckily, he was discovered. Didn't you see his father's face? Damn it, Xiao Xianghao, oh no Chen Hao, it's too good to kill him. Yeah, it's too satisfying. However, if this big shot doesn't appear, I'm afraid our cloud state will really be in a mess because of this father and son. Seeing that Xiao Jihan actually chose to commit suicide, many people felt that it was too easy for him to die. Especially when they thought of Dongfang Wangsai's face just now and Xiao Jihan's words just now. They felt that it was not enough to vent their anger. Isn't the Xiao Bo he's talking about the elder on the rostrum? With the death of an important person, it naturally shifted to a secondary role. Many people, especially the Xiao clan disciples, looked at the sixth elder with disdain and indignation. However, to everyone's surprise, the sixth elder, Xiao Bo, actually closed his eyes and remained motionless. Black blood was still flowing out from the corner of his mouth. Xiao Ding had actually seen it long ago. Although he hated Xiao Bo for being blinded by greed, and would definitely execute him according to the clan rules, he still felt sad in his heart. Xiao Jihan's talent was outstanding, and he had always been the focus of the Xiao clan's nurturing. Xiao Bo was a direct descendant of the Xiao clan, and was Xiao Ding's uncle. Both of them chose to commit suicide. To Xiao Ding, this kind of ending was probably the most relaxing for him. Carry them out and bury them. I hope all the disciples present will take this as a warning. Cultivators should have the spirit of a cultivator. Blinded by greed, and playing tricks is ultimately playing with fire, and digging one's own grave. Li Ran waved his hand at the guards of the city lord's mansion, and said in a deep voice. The competition continues. Today, the president of our Zhenyuan Kingdom's Entrepreneur Guild is here personally. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the cultivators of Cloud State. The president is not only the president of the Entrepreneur Guild, but he also has another more important identity. Therefore, it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or not. The ranking is no longer important in this battle of the top 10. What's important is to display your true strength and talent. There's no rest today. Let's do it in one go. Participants, do your best. I hope that all of you can catch the guild master's eye. That will be our Cloud Province's fortune. Li Ran continued to speak loudly. Li Ran's words immediately ignited the flames of war between Mo Yui, Helian Yiqing, and the other top 10 disciples. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, an opportunity for the carp to leap over the dragon gate. Chen Hao had already taken the lead, but what about them? Everyone knew that this would be a battle that would change their lives. The ranking wasn't important. What was important was to display one's strength. As long as one could truly display one's strength and talent in a battle, it would be enough even if one couldn't continue fighting due to serious injuries. Chen Hao did not understand why President Feng Yuan valued him so much and directly took him in as a personal disciple. But he knew that to be truly valued, it would depend on his future performance. Without a doubt, the next match would be his first performance. Therefore, even Chen Hao could not let his guard down. When it came to the 5th round, Chen Hao and another peak 6th grade martial arts master jumped into the main arena at the same time. Following the referee's command, the two of them immediately started fighting. Go throw it outside the city and feed it to the dogs. Yes. A few guards carried the corpses of Xiao Bo, Xiao Jihan, and the headless Dongfang Wankai out of the arena and directly threw them to the lackeys. The lackeys directly stuffed them into the carriages without even looking at them and sped out of the city. When they reached the barren land, they directly threw them into the gully where the corpses were often disposed of and quickly left. They simply did not notice that although Xiao Jihan's corpse was stiff, its temperature was completely different from Xiao Bo and Dongfang Wankai. In the winter, there was still a faint residual warmth. Rumble. As the 3 corpses rolled down the ravine, the dead Xiao Bo and Dongfang Wankai didn't react at all. However, the stiff Xiao Jihan's hand, which seemed to have pierced into his neck, actually let go of his neck after rolling for a few meters. If anyone saw this, they would definitely widen their eyes in shock. Because this was a hand that had lost all of its fingers except for its thumb. What was even more shocking was that Xiao Jihan's movements were light. With a slight smile, he controlled his rolling body to avoid hitting his head time and time again. When the lackeys who threw the corpses were far away, Xiao Jihan's corpse suddenly glowed with a slight wave of elemental energy. His rolling momentum suddenly slowed down, and he stopped beside a slightly protruding rock. Xiao Jihan, whose face, neck, and body were covered in blood, actually slowly opened his eyes. Monstrous hatred and anger shone in his eyes, as well as a trace of excitement from surviving a disaster. Suicide? Chen Hao, who destroyed everything he had and killed his father, was still alive. How could he, Xiao Jihan, commit suicide before he took his revenge? However, Xiao Jihan knew that if he had not taken the risk and used such a crazy method to deceive everyone, he would have definitely died. He did not hesitate to expose his father's and 6th elder's crimes. He did not hesitate to use his dead father's corpse to vent his anger. It was all to cover up. When he had used his fingers to gather origin power and inserted it into his father's corpse, it had felt as uncomfortable as piercing his heart. However, he had still done it. Only by doing this would he be able to make everyone think that he had gone crazy and inhumane. Only by doing this would he be able to break his own 4 fingers inside his father's corpse. Only by doing this would he be able to deceive everyone's eyes and make everyone think that he had really inserted his hand into his own neck. He forcefully entered the tortoise breathing mode, stopped his heartbeat and breathing, and entered a state of suspended animation. Everything. It was all for the sake of survival. For the sake of revenge. One day Dongfang Han will return. Just you wait. No matter how strong you are, no matter who you are, anyone who dares to stop me will die. All of you will die. Xiao Xianghao, no. Chen Hao, just you wait. Xiao Jihan's blood-stained face became extremely sinister. He bit his lips so hard that blood flowed out as he spoke sharply through the gaps of his teeth. His 4 fingers that had been cut off started to bleed again, because he had used too much strength. However, he seemed to have lost all sense of pain. With a flash of his body, he dashed towards the direction of the desolate mountain range at lightning speed. Home? He no longer had a home. In less than 3 days, the Dongfang family would no longer exist in Yunzhou. Furthermore, even if there was, he could not return. He had to escape. He had to escape from the Jinyuan kingdom and escape to a more powerful kingdom. He knew that if he wanted to take revenge and avenge his humiliation, he had to escape from the Jinyuan kingdom. That old man was too strong, and Chen Hao had already acknowledged him as his master. Special note: Xiao Jihan was able to hide his death from the president and other experts. The details will be explained later. Chen Hao was overflowing with battle intent. His first opponent, a peak grade 6 martial master, was not his match at all. However, in the next few battles, Chen Hao felt extremely stifled. It was not because his opponents were too strong, but because his opponents did not give him a chance to fight to his heart's content, and had already admitted defeat. What the fuck was this? Especially when Hellion Yiqing, who hated him to the bone, was still polite when he fought with him. On the contrary, other than him, the other people's battles were all intense. Climax after climax, one after another, each exciting battle overshadowed the previous one. They were truly going all out without holding anything back. After 4 consecutive battles, Chen Hao's high battle intent was immediately extinguished. Up until now, everyone had fought a total of 20 battles. Everyone had gone up 4 times. Almost everyone had performed as well as they should. Furthermore, other than Hellion Yiqing, Mo Yui, Hellion Wuxia and Chen Hao, everyone else, including Sima Jianyun, had already suffered heavy injuries and lost their battle strength. There was no need to mention Chen Hao, but Hellion Wuxia and Mo Yui made Chairman Fang Yuan nod slightly. Hellion Yiqing, whose performance was not inferior to the other 2, and even surpassed Mo Yui, did not attract any attention from Fang Yuan for some reason. Just as the remaining 4 people were about to draw lots, Li Ran suddenly froze. Then he respectfully nodded slightly and stood up, saying, "Wait, the last 4 people don't need to draw lots. Chen Hao and Hellion Yiqing have already fought. Mo Yui, the first round will be between you and Chen Hao." "Yes." Mo Yui, who was holding a large heavy sword, replied at the same time as Chen Hao with a cold expression. At this time, Mo Clan's clan had repeatedly signaled Mo Yui with his eyes. He was clear of Mo Yui's character. In his eyes, other than cultivation, there was only cultivation. His EQ was extremely low, and a broken sword was more important than anything else. Even when eating or sleeping, it did not leave his side. He was even closer to his wife. Of course, he did not have a wife. From the looks of it, he did not intend to have a wife in this life. Since the start of Cloud State's martial gathering, everyone had concealed their strength. Basically, before the battle of the top 10, no one had used a weapon. But this brat, no matter who his opponent was, how high their cultivation was, even if it was someone he could easily deal with a wave of his hand, he would still brandish his sword at them without exception. And now, Chen Hao was chairman's disciple. Who would dare to make a move against him? Mo Clan's clan head could already tell that the chairman seemed to have a little bit of interest in Mo Yui. If Mo Yui did not know how to restrain himself, this little bit of interest would probably be erased. But what made Mo Clan's clan head hurt was that Mo Yui did not even look at him. His hand was tightly gripping the large sword that he was closer to than his wife. His eyes were only staring at Chen Hao, who was about to fight. His figure was as straight as a sword, and the battle intent on his body soared without restraint. The aura of his entire person was like a sharp treasured sword, and actually contained a trace of sword intent. Mo Yui's fierce aura made Chen Hao, who was originally dispirited due to boredom, suddenly become energetic and hard. "Many thanks." Chen Hao's eyes suddenly shone with a bright light. He actually stared at Mo Yui, and said 2 words that made everyone confused. Mo Yui frowned slightly. He did not understand what Chen Hao meant. Since he could not figure it out, he let it go. He did not need to understand. Before the battle, there was only battle in his heart. Only battle. No matter if the enemy was strong or weak, he would fight with all his strength. Furthermore, although Chen Hao's realm was low, his true strength was definitely not inferior to him. Following the referee's order, Mo Yui's figure instantly flashed. Under the activation of violent yuan qi, he flew towards Chen Hao, like a sharp sword that was thrown out of his hand. P.S. Thank you for yesterday's Chen Yu, Chuan Liang Wu Zi, Passionate Love Carrot. Xiaofeng Scent Drizzle, Mo Yui, Supervision Section 1. A Dream of Old Scenery. 1456465464546. 6456. People in the Spring Breeze and Drizzle. 9 friends for their support. Thank you for your evaluation votes. The evaluation votes cannot be seen in the Dark Mountain Authors platform, so it will not be listed in the list. Thank you everyone. Please recommend it, add it, Thank you. Chapter 58. Mo Yui's clothes fluttered in the wind. His gaze was cold, and a sharp sword intent instantly enveloped Chen Hao. It had to be said that Mo Yui's merciless attack instantly raised everyone's spirits. This was really an anomaly. Just now when the others were fighting with Chen Hao, especially Helian Iching who was anticipating the most, they were all like soft eggs, not daring to act rashly. Although everyone understood what was going on, it seemed like they were really having a headache. But now, Mo Yui's view had finally changed. Come, Chen Hao lightly shouted. With a clang, he unsheathed his sword. This was also the first time he used a weapon. It was also a sword. After coming out of the Yuanling cave, he had chosen a sword from the Shao family's weapon pavilion. But ever since the start of the Cloud State Martial Gathering, he had never used it. Ding ding ding. In the blink of an eye, crisp sword sounds rang out densely like beans being fried. Resplendent sword rays flashed at the same time and spread out. The disciples with low cultivation couldn't even see the two figures. In their eyes, there was only a cold scarlet-red sword ray and a fiery red sword ray. Mo Yui's scarlet-red sword ray carried an intimidating power and sharpness. Just like the Mo family's fist technique, fast, ruthless, and strange. On the other hand, Chen Hao's fiery red sword radiance gave others a feeling of being unrestrained, heavy and majestic. Every move was simple, direct, and without any fanciness, just like his martial arts that turned something rotten into something miraculous. After a short moment, it caused the eyes of all the experts to brighten. Mo Yui had never felt so stifled when facing experts of the same level, or even experts of a higher level than him. Every time he attacked, Chen Hao's simple and swift sword ray would attack his weak points. This kind of weak point was something he didn't even feel was a weak point before. But now it made his hands and feet tied. But Chen Hao's simple, direct, sharp, and every move was aimed at the vitals of the enemy. The more Mo Yui watched, the more shocked he became. And the more excited he became. The sword was his favorite. No one knew to what extent his passion for the sword had reached. But he knew that the peak of the way of the sword was his lifelong pursuit. All along, he had felt that the Mo family's sword technique seemed to be lacking something, but he was unable to understand it. But now, Chen Hao's simple but sharp sword ray made him see the light of hope. Ah! After Mo Yui and Chen Hao had separated for some distance, Mo Yui suddenly let out a long howl. His body suddenly straightened, and his aura seemed to have changed at this moment. It was as if a sword that had not been sharpened had suddenly been sharpened, becoming even sharper and sharper. The sword in his hand burst out a bright sword light, and he stabbed out with it. This sword was condensed all his strength. There was no defense. There were only attacks. Violent, sharp, and indomitable attacks. Right at this moment, Chen Hao shouted loudly as well, and he drew his sword. Hum! Under the activation of the violent Yuan power, the sword in Chen Hao's hand actually let out a buzzing sound. Seeing this scene, everyone knew that this would be the two people's last attack. Victory or defeat would be decided in this one move. Boom! The sword rays clashed and a huge explosion sounded. Mo Yui, along with his sword, staggered backwards. On the hard rock, clear footprints were left. Finally he stabilized his body. But what made everyone surprised was that Chen Hao was sent flying by the huge force. His speed was several times faster than Mo Yui's. In the eyes of the crowd, the difference in strength was obvious. Just when everyone thought that Chen Hao would be sent flying out of the stage, Chen Hao's feet suddenly emitted dense footsteps. At the edge of the stage, when there was only a distance of one step, he actually stopped steadily. His figure was straight, his face was as calm as water, and his gaze was as sharp as a sword. The tip of the sword was pointed straight at Mo Yui. In contrast, Mo Yui's face was deathly pale. A trace of blood flowed out of the corner of his mouth as he stared blankly at Chen Hao. I lost many thanks. Many thanks. Chen Hao used many thanks as an opening remark, while Mo Yui used many thanks to end the battle. Many people didn't understand, but there were also many who understood. But Mo Yui's "I lost" was clearly heard by everyone. Only at this moment did everyone finally have the truest understanding of Chen Hao's strength. His tie with Hellion Wuxia was absolutely not because of that strange defensive ultimate art, and also absolutely not because of luck. Rather, he truly possessed this kind of strength. Not bad. Fang Yuan's face showed a slight smile. After looking at Chen Hao, he looked at Mo Yui and said, "This Mo clan lad, although his aptitude is a bit lacking, but at such a young age, he has a trace of sword intent. That is really rare." "Ah, Chairman. Does that mean Mo Yui can do it?" "Many thanks, Chairman." Li Ran immediately said with a trace of joy. Fang Yuan stared at Li Ran, but still nodded slightly, saying, "Let Hellion clan's lass also exchange moves with Chen Hao." This. Hearing Fang Yuan's words, Li Ran immediately frowned slightly. "What? Is there a problem?" "No." Although Li Ran wanted to say there was a problem, he didn't say it in the end. The battle between Chen Hao and Hellion Wuxia. Even Li Ran didn't expect it to have such a huge impact on Hellion Wuxia. These few days, Hellion Wuxia had a cold and emotionless face. Even a blind person could see how crazy she would be if she fought with Chen Hao again. Letting the two fight now was undoubtedly quite disadvantageous to Chen Hao, especially when Chen Hao had just fought. Fortunately, this was no longer a simple competition. If there was any danger at that time, he could just intervene. The two's conversation couldn't be concealed from the crowd, so when he heard Mo Yui was chosen, Mo clan head's face immediately turned into a monkey's, but from excitement. Now he specifically pointed out Hellion Wuxia and Chen Hao's battle, and didn't mention Hellion Iching at all. This made Hellion clan head Hellion Lei's expression a little embarrassed, but he didn't dare to make a sound. Similarly, Hellion Wuxia, who was at the edge of the stage, when she heard she was going to fight with Chen Hao, her cold eyes suddenly shone with 2 rays of light. Her body swayed, and she directly jumped onto the stage. Looking at Hellion Wuxia's appearance, Chen Hao frowned slightly, but immediately jumped onto the stage as well. For eyes met, electric arcs crackled. Although Chen Hao was slightly immature, he was handsome and had an imposing appearance. Although Hellion Wuxia was expressionless, her figure was graceful, and her beauty was unparalleled. Looking at the two of them, especially when they thought about the last time the two of them had fought to the death, everyone's eyes were wide open even before the match started. They really wanted to know what kind of scene the two of them would be like this time. Although Hellion Wuxia hadn't fought with Hellion Iching and Mo Yui yet, after a few battles, the terrifying strength she displayed faintly surpassed Hellion Iching and Mo Yui. As for Chen Hao, everyone no longer made any judgments, because this abnormal level of existence simply couldn't be guessed with common sense. Interesting. Fang Yuan's gaze swept over Chen Hao and Hellion Wuxia, and the corners of his mouth revealed a trace of a smile as he thought to himself. Not using weapons? After the two faced each other for a while, looking at Hellion Wuxia's cold and emotionless face, Chen Hao took the initiative to break the silence, saying, "If it's like this, I don't dare to guarantee that I won't use that move." With just one sentence, Hellion Wuxia's almost numb and cold expression actually flashed with a trace of sullen anger. Although it disappeared in a flash, it didn't escape Chen Hao's eyes. Fortunately, Chen Hao's expression didn't change, but he thought to himself. Hellion Wuxia's current appearance more or less made Chen Hao feel a little guilty. After all, if a good girl lost her humanity because of that battle, it was Chen Hao's responsibility after all. But now, seeing the trace of sullen anger in Hellion Wuxia's eyes, Chen Hao felt relieved. At least there was still anger, right? This proved that she was still normal. Up to you. But what Chen Hao and everyone didn't expect was that Hellion Wuxia actually opened her mouth. It was still that ethereal voice, but it was emotionless and bone-chilling. Boom! Following Hellion Wuxia's words, what made everyone astonished was that, just like last time, Hellion Wuxia once again charged towards Chen Hao. However, the aura this time was much stronger than last time. The berserk crimson red elemental energy, following that slender palm, was immediately like a crimson red giant dragon, roaring and attacking Chen Hao with incomparable ferocity. It was like a giant dragon of flames, but it contained extreme coldness. Everyone, other than Li Ran and Fang Yuan, especially the experts on the platform, Each and every one of them stared with their eyes wide open in shock. Even the Hellion clan head was no exception. No one thought that Hellion Wuxia had actually advanced to such a realm, and even more so, no one thought that Hellion Wuxia's elemental energy could actually contain an extremely cold energy. What was going on? Even Chen Hao's eyes suddenly shrunk, feeling shocked in his heart. She actually also comprehended profound ice chi? And she even exposed it? P.S. Please recommend it, bookmark it, thank you. Chapter 59. Immediately after, Chen Hao faintly understood why Hellion Wuxia did this. Without a doubt, Hellion Wuxia also wanted to grab this opportunity to completely display her talent and strength in front of Feng Yuan. Chen Hao guessed correctly, but what Chen Hao didn't guess was that Hellion Wuxia did this not only because she wanted to be fancied by Feng Yuan, but the most important reason was that she wanted to jump out of the Hellion family. Hellion family's Tianyuan cave was filled with water attribute energy and was much gentler than Xiao family's primordial spirit cave. It was the Hellion family's true cultivation holy land, and Hellion Wuxia had comprehended water attribute energy precisely in Tianyuan cave. And in the battle with Chen Hao last time, it wasn't only Chen Hao who benefited. Hellion Wuxia similarly, through Chen Hao, also mysteriously comprehended the profound ice chi. Water and ice were originally of the same origin. After comprehending one type, comprehending the other type would be much easier. But the two of them had only met once and comprehended each other. In the end, it was a little too shocking. One had to admit that the two's physiques and comprehension were extremely strong, or else they wouldn't be able to do something that ordinary martial masters simply couldn't achieve so easily. But now, she had completely revealed her true self. Jump out of the Hellion family. No matter what, she had to jump out of the Hellion family. Ever since Hellion Lei forced her to marry Hellion Yiqing, there wasn't a moment when she wasn't thinking of jumping out of the Hellion family. Chen Hao lightly shouted, and the elemental energy around his body also burst out without restraint. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, terrifying attacks resounded throughout the entire arena. The two's figures were as fast as lightning. Palm shadows, fist shadows, leg shadows, and devastating icy cold elemental energy. Everyone stared in shock with their eyes wide open and drew in a breath of cold air. Especially Hellion Yiqing and Moue. Only at this time did they truly understand that Hellion Wuxia and Chen Hao, no matter who it was, were not people they could contend against. On the rostrum, Hellion Lei's eyes were filled with shock, but at the same time, his brows were deeply furrowed. When Hellion Wuxia had comprehended the water attribute energy, he had already seen Hellion Wuxia's future potential. Therefore, out of selfishness, after testing Hellion Wuxia and being rejected, he used his status as the clan head to forcefully betroth Hellion Wuxia to his son, Hellion Yiqing, and announced to the public. Towards Hellion Wuxia's resistance, he only used the far-fetched reason of thinking for the clan to deal with it, because he clearly understood that only this way could he truly tie Hellion Wuxia down. Otherwise, once Hellion Wuxia, who wasn't a direct descendant of the Hellion clan, reached a certain realm, leaving the Hellion clan was inevitable. Although she could also be of great help to the Hellion clan, in the end, it wasn't as practical as this. But now, Hellion Wuxia didn't even look at him, and exposed her own hidden power. What made him even more surprised was that it wasn't water attribute energy, but rather the derivative energy profound ice chi. When did she comprehend the profound ice chi? Why didn't she tell him? Why did he use it in front of everyone at this moment? Almost in an instant, he understood Hellion Wuxia's intentions. He clearly understood that his little bit of selfishness had ultimately still shot himself in the foot. Hellion Wuxia displayed this kind of talent. There was an 80 to 90% chance that she would be fancied by Feng Yuan. Although it wouldn't be to the extent of taking revenge on the Hellion clan, wanting to gain benefits from Hellion Wuxia, it would most likely be hopeless. Bam! Chen Hao and Hellion Wuxia suddenly both soared into the air. Their palms stretched out at the same time and collided head-on, erupting with a huge boom. Although Chen Hao had used all his strength, the difference in realm between him and Hellion Wuxia meant that his elemental energy was much weaker in the end. His body immediately tumbled backwards, while Hellion Wuxia only tumbled once before landing steadily on the ground. Her graceful figure didn't stop. Her jade feet suddenly stomped, and with a boom, she once again charged towards Chen Hao, who had yet to land on the ground. She still couldn't kill Chen Hao, but the humiliation last time, she had to take it back and teach him a lesson. "You're the one who forced me." When Hellion Wuxia's slender jade palm flickered with crimson light and appeared in front of Chen Hao suddenly said. At the same time as he spoke, bam! The collision of palms that everyone imagined didn't happen. Chen Hao's hand actually strangely grabbed onto Hellion Wuxia's wrist. A clear and familiar bam-bam sound, accompanied by Chen Hao's oppressive groan of enduring Hellion Wuxia's terrifying elemental energy, once again entered everyone's ears. The following scene. The others didn't think much of it, but Feng Yuan and the several young disciples he brought along all stared with wide eyes. Bam bam bam, Hellion Wuxia screamed, but Chen Hao, who would rather endure her attacks and didn't care about his own injuries, once again used golden snake coiling sticky hand with an unstoppable force. Even though Hellion Wuxia was already mentally prepared, even though she displayed an extremely terrifying strength at this moment. But what made her incomparably ashamed and resentful was that she was once again entangled by Chen Hao. "Stop. I admit defeat." Hellion Wuxia didn't hesitate and said loudly. Her ethereal voice carried a trace of urgency and nervousness. With the previous experience, Hellion Wuxia was clear that even if she didn't lose her rationality now, the final result wouldn't be any better. Especially when she thought of the 2 clear claw marks on her chest when she went back last time. She really didn't know what Chen Hao would do. Even if she could win, would she dare to accept it? She had already been humiliated once, and if it happened again, she would really have no face to see anyone. When Hellion Wuxia admitted defeat and retracted the elemental energy in her body, Chen Hao also quickly released his grip and let go of Hellion Wuxia's delicate body. Hellion Wuxia was afraid that Chen Hao would do something even more excessive, but what she didn't know was that this time, Chen Hao really didn't think of making use of her human weakness of being a woman and a virgin. Victory or defeat wasn't too important now. He only wanted to fight to his heart's content. If he lost, then he lost. If he used Dragon Claw Hand to make Hellion Wuxia angry and humiliated, then it wouldn't be justifiable. A spectator who opened their eyes wide and was prepared to watch a wonderful battle didn't expect it to end like this, making many people feel a little unsatisfied. And at this time, Feng Yuan also slowly retracted the probing mental strength he sent out. His face revealed a smile as he slowly stood up. Seeing this scene, everyone knew that the most crucial moment had arrived. Not bad. Even the old man didn't expect that your Cloud State, which is only a small county, could actually give the old man such a big surprise. "Little girl, Hellion Wuxia, is it? You and Chen Hao, this little fellow, actually both comprehended water and ice attribute energy. Moreover, the energy aura is extremely similar. It's really a little strange, as if you were a match made in heaven. Haha, this isn't something that can be done just by having high comprehension ability. You're one." When Feng Yuan saw the two entangled together, he had already guessed the reason why the energy aura in their bodies was similar. One had to know that different people, after comprehending different elemental energy, would have completely different auras. Because the comprehension environment was different, the grade of the energy would be different. But the water and ice attribute energy in Chen Hao and Hellion Wuxia's bodies were almost the same grade. When Feng Yuan mentioned Hellion Wuxia's eyes shone with a trace of joy. She knew she should have succeeded. However, Feng Yuan's following words caused Hellion Wuxia's face to instantly turn red. Her beautiful eyes shone with intense hatred as she looked at Chen Hao, who didn't seem to have any reaction. Also, this little fellow is also not bad. Moui, right? Although your talent is a little lacking, just based on this sword intent, you're also one. Feng Yuan continued. Hellion Yiqing, who was filled with apprehension and anticipation, knew it was his turn soon. If Moui could be selected, he naturally could too. But what made him disappointed, despairing, and unwilling was that after Feng Yuan finished speaking, He actually didn't even look at him and slowly sat down. The yearly Cloud State Martial Gathering ended in a way that no one had expected. Fang Yuan gave some instructions to Li Ran, Chen Hao and the rest before stepping into the air and leaving. Many forces congratulated the Xiao clan, Mo clan, and Helian clan. Especially the Xiao clan. They became the moon surrounded by stars. Everyone knew that after today, although the Xiao clan's overall strength was still inferior to the Haolian clan, it wouldn't be long before they would inevitably replace the Haolian clan as the #1 clan in Cloud State. This was indisputable. Because Chen Hao could become Fang Yuan's direct disciple, he brought not only fame and status to the Xiao clan, but also rich substantial rewards. It was believed that in a few days, these rewards would arrive. Of course, the Helian clan and the Mo clan would also receive them, but it would definitely be different. Chen Hao didn't accept the crowd's compliments. Instead, he walked through the crowd and directly went to the Li clan's viewing platform. He thought Buttface would find an opportunity to find him, but he didn't in the end. And Chen Hao was facing an intense competition, so he wasn't in a hurry to find Buttface. However, he asked Xiao Mei to inquire about Buttface's situation in the Li clan. And now, the Cloud State Martial Gathering was about to end, but Buttface still didn't come to find him. Chen Hao naturally understood Buttface's thoughts and had to come. Ha ha ha. Isn't my brother Tianxi awesome? Isn't he awesome? Ha ha ha. Didn't you say brother Tianxi couldn't do it? Say it again? If you have the ability, say it again. In the last few rows of the Chen clan's viewing platform, Buttface's face was full of pride and joy. He was even a little arrogant, and looked at the four youths behind him with hatred. It was just that Buttface's swollen face looked extremely comical. He's an ox. It's not like you're awesome. What brother Tianxi? With your appearance, I'm afraid he's already forgotten about you. You're the last in the group, and relied on your family's money to sneak into the Li clan. It's not like you're awesome. What are you so proud of? That's right. Who do you think you are? Don't show off in front of us. In my opinion, you only acknowledged him as your brother, but he didn't even put you in his eyes. Nonsense. Buttface, whose face was bruised and swollen, immediately said angrily. Really? Then why don't you go find him? With his current status, he can just casually say a word, and you can come to the Xiao clan. I think you're just bluffing. P.S. Thanks for yesterday's tragedy. Chuan Liang Wuzi, A Dream of Old Scenes? Luoxi. Mo Qingyi, Supervision Section 1, Weasel 22, Ru Bing Laihua. Feng Bi 9 Friends Rewards and Support. Please add, recommend tickets. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.